It was a night like any other night. Then something happened.
You see that?
Something different.
It's no shooting star.
Why here? Why now? Why clowns? They've been knocking them dead all over the universe.
What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?
Soon they'll be doing it at a theater near you.
Killer Klowns from outer space.
Pizza?
Maybe they're just cruising through the galaxy and stopped here for a bite to eat.
You don't need a police pal, you need a psychiatrist. They want to play games? They're messing with the wrong guy.
What are you in for?
Killer Klowns from outer space. It's crazy.
Trash cinema.
There's Daddy. He's gonna miss the clown.
There was a little bit of a goof up. There's no clown coming.
Who double books a clown?
I thought you had a backup.
Everything's gonna be fine.
You're perfect.
Mr. Clown? Dad, hurry! I'm gonna be late.
I physically cannot get it off. It's suffocating.
1, 2.
Daddy?
Oh, Jack, sweetie, let's get you to bed.
That's not Daddy.
I can feel myself changing.
What happened to my husband?
It's not a costume. It's skin of a demon. It's lured people out of the villages. White face and red nose to entertain people that they knew.
No matter what I say, don't let me out.
How do you get the suit off?
You can't.
What are you doing down there, Daddy?
Come downstairs. I want to see my #1 birthday boy.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Trash Cinema. I'm Michael, and on the other side is Kersey. How's it going, Kersey?
Hey, it's going good. How are you?
Oh, okay, so usually we pick movies which is a 50-50 shot one of us is gonna hate it. Sometimes both of us end up hating it. We end up ripping the movie apart. But I love both movies. You chose one, and I chose something to go with it. We chose Clown from 2016 and Killer Klowns from Outer Space from 1988. I might be off a year on that one. But, oh my god, I've fallen in love with Clown, even though it's not the kind of movie we usually fall in love with. But thank you for suggesting this one.
Oh, yeah, no problem. That was one I just kind of went on a Netflix binge and just, it had that concept of just like, I'll give it a shot, but it ended up doing really well.
Yeah, and this is a weird movie because John Watts, the director of this is now the director of the Spider-Man franchise. What? It's so wildly different movies.
Yeah, I don't know. I can kind of see it. You know, Sam Raimi did horror before he did Spider-Man. You know, I guess they're kind of following the same idea.
Yeah, and he had done Cop Car between Clown and Spider-Man, but because Dimension is known for being a studio that takes these little movies that are really good and shitting on them, it sat on the shelf for 2 years, and then Cop Car got a lot of buzz, and then they finally decided to release it. I think they released it like on 12 screens or something like that, barely released. So this is something that you had to find streaming, or good luck finding any DVDs of low-budget horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one that I had heard of, but it completely like just left my mind, because I remember hearing something about Eli Roth wanting to become the executive producer of this, and I was like, whatever happened to him directing things? All I ever see now is him producing stuff, and you can see why he would choose this movie.
Yeah, it definitely is grotesque and horrifying, especially if you're into the body horror genre. It has a lot of what is that director? Cronenberg. Has some Cronenberg style stuff in there.
So basically, the plot is this guy, he's cleaning out this house. There's the thing is, okay, so first, I didn't pay attention too close, and I should have rewound it and gone back, but I want him to correct me if I'm wrong. We have this gentleman who has found an old clown suit stored away at this house where a gentleman has just died, and he puts it on, correct? And I lost somewhere along the way. He was supposed to be wearing it for a party, or no? Yeah,
okay, so it was his son's birthday, and he really liked clowns, but the clown didn't show up, and the father is a realtor, and he owns one of the houses. A tenant just died, so he was basically cleaning it out, and happened to find a clown costume.
Okay. Yeah, and then he discovers he cannot get the costume off, and this is when it finally grabbed my attention. I'm like, oh, turning off my phone. Hold on a second, what's going on here? And no matter what, it's like a parasite. It becomes part of him, and it's a demon, correct? It's the skin of a demon is what the clown suit is.
I think the demon was called Klein, like Clywn or something like that.
And basically, it changes you. And we discovered, and the whole thing's kind of a mystery, and the director and writer were really smart in slowly giving us details instead of everything at once. It works like in the Jaws formula, you know, you get a taste, and then you get the big meal at the end. So for most of this movie, we are a little lost on why this thing he's not able to take it off.
Yeah, they give some alternative explanations. The suit's old, and it'll stick to you if you sweat in it too much, and he was wearing it for a long time, so it was we can kind of buy that idea for a little while. But the scene where he tries to take it off using like power tools and razor blades was disturbing.
Yes, especially after he had cut his wrist trying to get it off.
Oh, yeah.
And then he takes it and puts the bandsaw, whatever, in where his neck is. I'm like, no, don't do that. Please don't do that. No, there's no way this is gonna go well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of ended well. The blade broke, and then he had to run out looking like an idiot with a clown suit on.
And this is like the next half hour is him just trying to explain, no, I'm not farting around here. This thing's on me. And like, no, you're kidding, right? You know, seriously, come here. Let me help you get this off. And they do remove the nose, which rips the flesh off of his nose, and the dog quickly eats the leftover bit of nose, which is a big, I can't talk, a big plot point later. In that this thing, it's kind of like the thing, you know, like every little bit of it is possessed.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I thought was actually really interesting and kind of a neat idea is that we see the suit as kind of sapping him of his energy in his life, and we see it sort of as a parasite, but actually it was making him stronger. You know, like it would like remove his teeth, but then later replace it with fangs, and as we grow to learn about what the suit is.
And he is gurgling, like, for most of the, first half of the movie, it's like gurgling constantly. You're not sure what in the hell's going on. And then you discover that, A, the only way he's going to get out of this costume is to kill 5 children. And B, he doesn't really have much of a choice. It's either he's consumed by it and has to be decapitated, or he has to eat the 5 children and the demon will let him free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a great idea, great concept. I mean, it's silly as all hell, but I mean, when you watch it, you can buy it.
Yeah, the director did a really good job of building the atmosphere too. A lot of these movies about clowns, and I mean, clowns fuck me up. I don't know if are you afraid of clowns at all?
No, not really.
Yeah, just something about them is truly disturbing. I think part of it's because I saw It as a child, and I'm always thrown off by seeing something that isn't like representing who they really are, like Santa.
Yeah, it's like seeing something out of place.
Yeah, and so handling that without just like being lazy and just going, well, clowns are scary. Well, it's based on the world that they're in is what makes them scary. How you film them, their behavior. Like when he's going to hunt down, I think, Child 3, and they're in the, what would you call that? Like you always see them at McDonald's, like playroom kind of thing.
Oh, it was a Chuck E. Cheese. It was just straight out Chuck E. Cheese, I think.
Oh, really? Wow. So Chuck E. Cheese signed off on that one. But they're going through the tunnels, whatever, that kid, and it's very slow and methodical, whereas, most major horror films are fast, 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 fast. Scream kind of changed horror movies for good and bad by speeding the process up, making them be like action movies. And John Watts sits back and lets it kind of build the tension. You don't know who's around what corner as this kid is going through trying to find his friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly a top-tier horror movie. I think that movies like Seven probably in top tier, where it takes sort of an idea and has it build up until the last moment. This one kind of does sort of the same thing, but it kind of breaks it up into maybe 3 or 4 like surprise moments. But I think it's really effective.
No names in this one except for Peter Stormare, who is a character actor who most people know from Fargo, Jurassic World. No, not Jurassic World. Lost World, the second Jurassic Park. And he's the kind of guy that just pops up every once in a while in like a mainstream movie. But for the most part, he's like one of those kind of under-the-radar character actors. Always plays the same thing, though, and I think it's kind of hard to do anything else with that accent.
And the hair, too.
Yeah. He did a George Romero movie around 2000. I want to say it was called Spoiler. No. Doggone it. But this is the first time I'd ever seen him do like horror. And I was like, oh, he's perfectly made for this franchise, or this genre. Mm. And he's basically the guy who's doing all the exposition in this movie, trying to explain, what it is, because his brother is the one who had the costume the first time around and explained how he got free and stuff like that. So he's the only name actor in this, but I think everybody's really good in it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the cast. I thought they were one of the things about horror movies, which is hard to do, but basically right away horror movies have to grab you with reality. So the characters have to speak as real people, and I think this movie really got that down.
Whereas the second movie we're discussing, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, takes it in a whole different direction, where it is well made and it's well acted, but it takes kind of a tongue-in-cheek, almost Roger Corman style of doing horror comedies, where it is scary, but it's tongue-in-cheek, so it kind of has a fun way of bouncing around like that. But that's the way horror movies were in the 80s. They started injecting a lot of comedy in there, whereas not so prevalent now.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the vast difference between the first 2 Freddy Krueger movies and then everyone after that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what in the hell. As much as I love Dream Warriors, I feel like it set the tone for the rest of the series. You're like, shit. It's just going to escalate from here. One-liners, here we go.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that, just because Freddy Krueger is sort of my favorite, horror movie villain. But I do think that there was a lot of directions they could have went with the idea, and they did kind of shoot themselves in the foot with making it silly almost right away.
Yeah. But Clown is unrelenting in its grimness. I don't really think there is any moment of levity, and when you get to the end, and she has to make this choice, of helping get the 5 children or taking his ass out, she makes the wrong decision at first. And you're like, you know what? That's not Hollywood, but that's actually how people probably really would react. Because she loves her husband. She wants him back, and she doesn't want to sacrifice her child, so she just picks some random kid. And then things go kind of astray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the 2 things that's very non-Hollywood about this movie. One is that decision at the end. I think they kind of ruined it a little bit with sort of the jump scare ending with him chasing the kid around the house, but whatever, And then the other thing I enjoyed was that they actually killed children in very gruesome ways.
Yeah, I mean, not that we want to see children killed, but as a filmmaker, it takes kind of balls. But he did it tastefully, no. You know the scene where he's trying to decapitate himself? Oh yeah, by the way, the rules are you have to behead. There's no other way. He's taking a gun and put it in his mouth, and and when the brains explode, they're in confetti, cotton candy colors, the guts. I lost my train of thought. But when he's trying to decapitate himself, you know, when he's leaning back into those two buzzsaws, I know that he's already put a gun in his mouth, and he knows this too, but that is so much more like, oh, you got to really commit to this one.
Yeah.
And things go horribly wrong, and one of the blades gets loose. But, you know, let's not go too far into the movie. But it is a movie that doesn't shy away, but it also isn't gore-tastic. It doesn't revel in it like, you know, an orgy of blood. It's just there to get the point across.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there's not really any scenes of, like, tongue-in-cheek spray gore. It mostly just shows you sort of the aftermath of an event, usually.
Yeah, it's not exploitive, but it's a wet movie, people. It's wet. There's a lot of guts left over.
Yeah.
And so I definitely, totally recommend this movie. It's one of the best horror movies I've seen the last few years. In an age where it's hard to find anything that hasn't been like just, oh, yay, another ghost story, great. 8,000 of those being released by the studios. Awesome.
Yeah, it's hard to find, especially in horror, I think, is a genre that really went downhill in the 2000s.
Yeah.
I'm hard pressed to think of one good horror movie in the past decade.
Well, the problem is becoming obsessed with PG-13 ghost movies. I mean, every fucking time you turn around, you know, it's because of The Ring, it's because of The Grudge, it's because of the others. You know, those three right there set the precedent because those all made like over $100 million. And everybody's like, well, we got to make more movies like this. And every year you get, you know, you get Conjuring, that whole Blumhouse brand. That's all it is just the same stupid ghost story just set with different actors, and it's made for like $2 million. So of course the studios are going to keep making them.
Yeah, and they've really been ruining horror, especially because there's a lot of companies that take like indie horror movies that are really good, and then they want to make a big budget version of it, and it just fails.
Yeah.
Like Lights Out was a brilliant indie film. It was only like 5 minutes long, and it was like genuinely horrifying. And then they tried to pan it out to an hour and a half, and it was just awful.
Wow, I haven't seen that one. The two horror movies that I've seen in the last few years that I really enjoyed were fairly decent budget studio pictures that they tossed out, like sent straight to video. Freaks of Nature and The Final Girls. Both I absolutely adore. Both got dunked because the studio doesn't know what to do with anything that like mashes up genres or is kind of reflective on horror. It's all about ghosts. That's it. Or you know, I mean, even the torture horror is gone. So there really isn't anything left.
There is one movie that does have a ghost element to it, but that's not. It's not necessarily the focus. It's called The Pact. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I haven't. Who's in that one? Or is it really?
I have no idea. I think it's a bunch of no names as far as I remember. But it takes you along like this kind of standard ghost story, and then basically around the last half hour, it flips it on its head, and it's really interesting how they do it.
Huh. Yeah, I feel like the studios now are trying to push this like PG-13 horror universe. The Mummy, come on, guys, look. I want to watch an action movie. I don't want it colliding with classic horror. You know, you can still make The Mummy terrifying if you do it right. I don't want running and special effects and, you know, action sequences nonstop in my horror, because then it's not a horror movie, it's a special effects movie.
We're talking about the Tom Cruise one, right?
Yeah, sometimes. But it's
Christ.
because they're trying to push it. Well, Dracula Untold was so goddamn boring. It was the same thing over and over and over. One power. He turned to bats and swept around, and he would get all these. Yeah, I got it. You showed it 18 times already. Why is this movie still going?
Yeah, can you believe that they were trying to make a franchise? They're trying to make a like Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Universal Monsters with the Mummy. Can you? What the
and then
hell
we got Bride of Frankenstein a year and a half, and then we got Invisible Man with Johnny Depp. They're pushing Dr. Jekyll with Russell Crowe. I just don't understand. Didn't we learn anything from Van Helsing? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, God. Well, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was another disaster.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a fan of the original comic books, but that was an abortion of a movie.
I think that horror should be, in a way, kind of kept like in the minor leagues, when it was a B movie, when it was done by independent studios. I feel like they had more character and more attitude. Not all of them were successful, financially or critically, but what they had was a style of their own, and they weren't trying to build franchises, sequels, universes. It was just, sometimes it was a one and done, like Killer Klowns from Outer Space. And I know they talk about doing a remake or a sequel. I think they should just leave it go.
Yeah, just let it go. That's the thing about horror movies, is that it's just, really it's centered around an idea, and usually ideas don't last longer than a movie. Good horror movies will take basically an everyday fear or an everyday idea of something that's frightening and then basically make it like the worst possible scenario. And those movies end up usually doing really well, or at least those are the ones that are most effective, like Nightmare on Elm Street, the idea that you can't sleep. Just things like that really amplify. But when you take something that's so watered down, ghost movie, just shit it out, and that's what you get. So.
Yeah, you think about a lot of those. A lot of them are set in small towns, too. I miss horror movies set in these little small towns where, everything's so peaceful and nice, you can sleep with your door unlocked, and then the killer comes in, like Michael Myers, and he's wiping out all these innocent kids, and you're like, because our town isn't so safe anymore. And, I mean, of course, it's been done 1,000 times since then. Hey, let's go to a campsite, it's all these kids just hanging out learning, and, they're hacked up by Jason, Yeah. Now, I don't know. It's really hard to find something in a PG horror, PG-13 horror film that really triggers that built-in fear that you have. Like I said, I was afraid of clowns for a long time, and Killer Klowns does it in a way that's not truly disturbing, but there's certain moments in the film or decisions they make that are unnerving.
Definitely. I watched it when I was a kid, and it was, it's a funny movie. It still is pretty funny. And as a kid, I was, of course, terrified of it because it's, creepy clowns murdering people. And there's still some moments. I think the moment for me that's most creepy and disturbing is when they basically put people into those cotton candy balloons that's full of acid and they just suck them out of it.
Yeah.
That idea just freaks me out.
The thing that bothered me, and here's the thing is, though, the movie is mostly set up in gags. It's almost like a Looney Tunes cartoon where it's just basically a vehicle to see them, do little spins on clown jokes. You have the smelling dog, the hound or whatever made out of balloons. You have the hand puppets that turn into dinosaurs and eat them. A lot of it's just gags, where they're trying to, cook up any cool visual idea. And those are fun, but that's not what makes the movie tick. There's a moment when they're going, right when they see the sign for the town, I can't remember the name of the damn town. But it's fairly early on, and they're walking in slow-mo. Now, mind you, that might not have been intentional because those suits are huge and bulky and they can't move very well. But because they're moving as if they were underwater, there's something really disturbing about how they did that. And I was like, oh, okay, there goes the fear, the trigger again. Go ahead.
No, keep going.
No, I'm just saying slow-mo. Something about slow-mo. I don't like it when they speed stuff up, but there's something about, and I don't mean like John Woo under-crank or over-crank to get it slow-mo. It's when things are intentionally dragged out. There's a movie with Linda Blair called Hell Night. Have you ever seen that?
I've heard of it. I don't know if I've seen it.
It's during that whole period where they made a lot of movies like Jason, where they're all like kind of mongoloids.
Yeah.
But it's Linda Blair and a bunch of other people who are going into, pledging for a fraternity or a sorority, and they're supposed to stay in the old house up on the hill. And they don't know that there is a monster living in the basement who's been there for years. And there's a sequence where she's looking down this hallway, and you just kind of see a slow silhouette moving, and you're like, what the hell am I looking at? And it stops, and it sees her, and all of a sudden it bursts. And it was like, But the scary part is the burst. It's that slow moving because you don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. I might have to check that out. We're kind of going off on tangents, but I'm going to go off on another one here. Going back to Killer Klowns from Outer Space for a moment. One thing that I really liked very Corman style, is when they go into the giant tent, which is the flying saucer, basically. Mm-hmm. I really like the decorate, the interior design of it, the layout, everything. It's something that you don't see very often, and then when it is done, it's usually not done very well. So, like an example that I was just thinking of was the prequel to The Thing, I think was a complete fuck up by going to the flying saucer. That was a terrible decision.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole movie was based around mystery, and the fact that you just and the fact that you see the footage and you just see the spaceship is creepy enough, especially the size of it. And then to like actually be in it and see that it's actually working and stuff, that was terrible.
Yeah, the thing with Killer Klowns, and now that I know film well enough, for the most part, it's real. Everything you're seeing is real, except for when they go into the big room where everybody's wrapped up in those cotton candy cocoons. There is a mat, and they use it a couple other times. So, do you know how that works? I'm assuming you do.
Say again?
It's like a matte painting, so they lay it, it's an overlay on the camera. So as they're walking a room, only maybe a third of that room is real, and the rest of it is a painting, a really good painting. So that looks much, much bigger than it is, and that they've captured thousands of people instead of like 20. And they use that a couple other times when they're walking out of that dinosaur tunnel, or that lizard tunnel, or whatever it is, out of the mouth. They use that too, like superimpose kind of, angles. It just makes it look bigger.
Yeah.
But and the colors are amazing. I watched the Blu-ray quality of it, and I was like shocked the way it just popped the way it did. And that must be the way it looked in theaters. I've seen it on shitty VHS, so it didn't look as amazing.
Here, folks. If you're going to buy Killer Klowns from Outer Space, we suggest the Blu-ray.
The performances are really good too. Usually in movies like this, you kind of get subpar actors. Now, none of these actors were household names except maybe John Vernon because of Animal House. But they're all really good, especially John Vernon, who doesn't believe a single thing coming out of anybody's mouth. Even when the clown is right in front of him, he still doesn't believe it.
Oh shit! Wasn't this Christopher Titus's first role?
Yeah, it's. I'm pretty sure it's his first role, and he has the Goonie glasses. He's only in it for a little bit, but he's the only name you really know. John Treleski, the cop in it, the young cop, he is a director now, and I can't remember. I think Grant Kramer is the other guy who is a producer now. He did 13 Guns and Lone Survivor. I think he might be part of Mark Wahlberg's producing team or something.
Oh, cool.
So these people still work, but I like the fact that they made basically the lead kind of like a crazy person. You watch Grant Kramer and his performance is a little bonkers. Mm-hmm. But even
I always enjoy.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I would say I always enjoy things like that. It's a small thing, but it really does set the tone for a movie. Another movie that did that really well was the remake of The Evil Dead, where the main character was basically trying to quit drugs, or she was like doing a rehab thing with her friends where they would just watch her at the cabin. So when she was being possessed, it was hard for them to know if she was actually in pain or if these were withdrawals. So things like that I really like.
Yeah. There's two sets of sub-characters in Killer Klowns from Outer Space that I enjoyed, and they're barely in the movie. The two brothers that run the ice cream truck.
One of them, that was Christopher Titus, yeah.
What?
That was Christopher Titus, right?
No.
One of the guys from...
Christopher Titus is only in the very beginning. He's the blonde guy who has the beer in his hand when he passes the cop, and then he's out on Lover's Hill, or what do you want to call it. He's only in that beginning part, but there's two idiot brothers that run the ice cream truck, and they're throughout the whole movie here and there. But they're so dumb, and there's a sequence where they're making out with... Clearly they made out with two lady clowns, and I can't believe the lady clowns didn't kill them. They got makeup all over their face. The other two, now this is so minor, and I don't know why I noticed it so much, but do you remember the two punks that were arrested, the college kids, and they were put in the jail with the clown?
Yeah, I remember that part.
They portray these two like punks, John Vernon treats them like a huge threat. They're so nice for punk rockers. They're more goth, honestly. But I thought that was a nice touch, and not making them rebellious or snot-nosed. They're just like, okay, sir, we'll go. Thank you.
Great. Some great comedy, great performances, and some pretty decent special effects too. All around, pretty good movie.
Yeah, it's a handmade film. You can tell. It's the Chiodo brothers directed this, and were basically doing everything on this film. Most people probably know them from creating The Critters. And I think that's about their most noticeable thing, but they use the finances and notoriety from Critters to get Killer Klowns made, and it definitely feels like a personal journey instead of just some, well, we need this, this, and this, and we'll have a huge sellable film. You know, something a corporation would put together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I recommend both films. Do you recommend both?
I definitely recommend both.
All right. So in next episode, what do we have in mind? We discussed so many different films. Are we going to do the Piranhas?
Yeah, I'd like to do Piranha.
All right. So we'll do the original and the remake, or the remake and the sequel.
Ooh, let's just do the original and the remake.
Okay. That'll be our next episode. So 79 Piranha and 2010 Piranha. Both highly enjoyable. There are other Piranhas, by the way. There's Piranha 2 The Spawning, which James Cameron was on for 2 weeks before getting fired. There was Piranha remake on Showtime in 1995, which just reused the same special effects. And then there's Piranha Double D or something like that.
Yep, that's the 3D version, I think.
Yeah. It's not very good. They got rid of a lot of people and added David Hasselhoff. And honestly, adding David Hasselhoff to anything is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, that is it for us here. Check us out on Video Night. I forgot what podcast I was on. I do too many shows. Video Night Podcast, that's where you find the normal show. And you will also find every single episode of Trash Cinema. How many times can I trip over my own lips? Kersey, I apologize. I am a tongue-tied doofus. You should be with someone more professional.
No, that's no problem.
All right, Kersey, send us out.
All right, what?
Oh, I was hoping you had a slogan or something. I usually go to my co-host or guest for a send-off.
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to help me out with that.
Okay, hey kids, stay trashy. Watch some good old grindhouse exploitation films. There's tons out there to discover. Ignore the big boys pushing those big expensive films on you. There's some excellent stuff out there under the radars. Check them out, and have a good night. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Comics on Infinite Earths. I'm your host Michael. On the other side is Ken Reed. How's it going, Ken?
Good, how are you?
You like my radio voice? I'm going to go with this from now on. Hey everybody.
It was very good. It's 75 degrees outside the big city here in Portland.
I used to work in radio and you used to have to make that voice. And the whole time, can we just talk like normal people? And they're like, have you heard your real voice? No.
Yeah, no one does. Unless your real voice is you're the sidekick guy and you're like, hey, how we doing there? You know, oh.
The name's Lunchbag. Or Scooter.
Yeah.
Or something stupid.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to say this. I appreciate Ken's patience. I'm a little late on this one. I can't believe I have to say this, but I came back from the gym after being bullied. I'm 40 years old, and I just got bullied by a man at least a decade younger than me, but very, very large.
You got bullied at the gym?
I'm so ashamed of myself. And this is like the third time now, and I keep tolerating this bullshit. I'm a grown-ass man. I know how cops work. I can't just get beat up and nothing happens. I'm at a place that has a surveillance team. It's a gym at a casino. And yet, I cowered down.
What kind of bullying? Like, how did it work?
Well, okay, let's say this time it was something minor, but I've had issues before. Last year, I accidentally locked myself out of my locker, and I had to walk out to the lobby in just a towel. And he proceeded to mock me mercilessly for the next 2 weeks about it, telling other people about it. So that's just kind of mild bullying. It's just kind of like, it's funny to you, but not funny to me. Shut the fuck up.
So just being like, hey, nice towel, loser, like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, it's just like as I'd walk around corners, he'd be whispering and pointing at me, going, "Oh my God, he's crying out in the lobby. I no towel." You know, and I tell him, yeah, I know. And I routinely the word is at some of these big gyms is, hey, share your equipment. That's usually what we tell people. You share the equipment you're not using at the moment. Go ahead, someone else hop in. This guy has none of that, and I'm pretty laid back. Like if I'm working on a piece of equipment and someone drops in, I have no issues with that whatsoever. I have a routine where I'm doing like 12 different exercises, and I can intermingle the routine. You know, it's not like boom, 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 boom. You know, I have to do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I have a lot going on. So he jumps in, changes the stuff. I don't care. Today, I just touch. Actually, no, I don't even think I touched the equipment. I was reaching for it. And all of a sudden, it's just like this bunch of bullshit from him. Like, no. That is mine. I'm like, I could go on about...
Like, that's my gear, get out of here kind of thing?
And just being really tough about it. And you know, in your head you have, it's not your equipment, it's not my equipment, it's the gym's equipment, we're all borrowing it. The rules say we all share, so why don't you just back the hell up? But no, I say none of this. I go, oh, okay. And then I just go play basketball for 10 minutes while I steam.
Sorry, sir.
God, so
is he like a meathead? Like a big, roid out meathead?
Well, the thing is, he's not really muscly. He's just big. I'm going to guess that if you took all the fat off of him, we might be in the same range, except he's like 6 inches taller than me. I don't know. In my head, I'm still 10 years old. Always. It's ridiculous.
So he's like Coob from Parker Lewis.
No, because everybody loved Coob. Well, maybe Coob in the first 2 episodes.
I mean, physically Coob.
Yes, very Coob-like.
Okay.
Now I just want Larry's lunch. I'm sad.
Yeah.
Nostalgic. I think...
Maybe next time just bring up a cardboard bag that says Larry's lunch on it, and when he starts to give you guff, just whip that at him.
I could, or I could just look at him and go, look, I'm faster than you. I hope you understand this. I'm older than you, so respect your elders. But I don't want to pull that card yet. I'm only 40. I'm just starting to get gray hair. I don't want to pull the respect your elders card yet.
Well, some people, they tend to back down if you don't tell them to shut the F up.
I know, but I just can't seem to do it. I find myself like this in everything in life. That's why I bury myself in nostalgia and movies and video games and comic books, which is why we're here today. Do you like the wind-up for that pitch?
It is good, although I would say, a lifetime of reading comic books has given me sort of an oddly inflated sense of right and wrong and justice, and so I have the opposite.
Well, no, I have that in my head, but I can't seem to enact it out because then I start thinking, if he does hit me, it's going to hurt a lot. And I have a family to protect,
Have you ever been hit before?
Yes, but not since 6th grade. I found a way to talk out of it. I'm
pretty
good with my mouth. Not in that way. Not in prison way. I just mean talking my way out of it.
That may also help, though. That may also help.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that. But, you would think, I've been reading comic books. In fact, it's the very first thing I ever read. When I was 3 years old, my mother got me a subscription to Spider-Man and Incredible Hulk. So you would think that lifetime of, seeing those heroes would change my attitude towards, being bullied and pushed around. But no, it doesn't. I'm forever Peter Parker, and I'm not Spider-Man.
Why did, what made your mom get you subscriptions?
I'm not sure. I think it's because I started watching the cartoon, the 60s, the Ralph Bakshi. This is right before, I think, the Spider-Man Amazing Friends started to air.
Okay.
I'm not 100% certain because she got me Hulk and Spider-Man. So it could be the cartoons, or it could also be like the live-action show. No, the live-action show is scary to a kid.
Yeah, but moms didn't know that. They thought kids liked it because it was very popular.
Yeah, didn't you have a thing with the Hulk and your parents completely misunderstood it?
Yeah, they hired one of my uncle's bodybuilder friends to surprise me at my 2nd birthday, and he painted himself green and busted through like a paper wall, and I was absolutely terrified.
Wow. But the work that went into it, you kind of got to respect that. But boy, that must have just literally just made your brain go, when to throw up or something and pass out.
Oh yeah, it was horrifying.
I have a photo somewhere around here. When I was 3 or 4, we met Spider-Man at the mall, and you could take a picture with him. You remember when Spider-Man, before it was really a movie and a big epic thing where Marvel had tons of merch they could do for it. There's basically those the Mezco dolls. What are the dolls?
Yep. Miko.
There's that, the cartoon, and then
Migo.
Okay. And then there was the visits. Like Spider-Man would give different guys dressed in Spider-Man costume would go to malls and sort of events and do stuff like that. They don't do that anymore, and I wish they did.
Oh yeah, they totally would. And Star Wars too. I have a picture of me with a guy dressed up like Darth Vader. There was a lot more mall-centric entertainment then. Yeah. Because I also met Scott Baio at all.
Oh. Was he performing? Was he singing?
He was promoting Charles in Charge when it first came back into first run syndication. So I met him there, and then all these years later, he's blocked me on Twitter.
I can imagine why. Charles lost his mind.
Yeah.
So my first comic books were those. Was Amazing Spider-Man and Incredible Hulk around 1981-82. But your first comic book, if I remember correctly, is the New Defenders.
Yeah, the New Defenders, I think 124. It's the one with the parody cover of Fantastic Four #1. And it's from 1982. That was the very first comic I ever bought. I was 2 years old. I bought it at Delaney's Superette in Melrose, Mass, which was this little convenience store near my grandparents' house. And my grandparents, or whoever was at my grandparents' house, would send me over to the Superette with money to get them scratch tickets and cigarettes. And then,
Wait, they handed you cigarettes? You were allowed to actually pay for cigarettes?
Because it was like, they knew the guy that owned... Yeah. Well, they knew the guy that owned the store, and it was like, he'd give me scratch tickets and cigarettes and whatever. And then the deal was I could use the change to get what I wanted, so I would buy comics and like toys, or not toys, but like snacks and Cracked magazines and all that.
Oh my God, Cracked! Do you prefer Mad or Cracked?
Well, in the 80s, I absolutely preferred Cracked because Cracked had. Mad I liked, but it was a very much a it was very 70s to me, and Cracked seemed so very 80s, that in a good way. And also had Monster Parties, which I was huge with. And I didn't know it at the time, but now I've learned that they hired all these underground comics artists like Evan Dorkin and why am I forgetting his name? Ghost World.
Zwigoff? No, is that the director?
Not Zwigoff. No, he's the director.
Klaus.
Oh my God. Yeah. Daniel Klaus was doing stuff under assumed names and all that stuff. So that really appealed to me. And, they had that weird sort of more cutting edge vibe because of it.
Yeah, I remember Mad Magazine, even then I kind of thought, this is kind of sexist. This is weird. If you read those old magazines until around 87, 88, when I think they had like some sort of overhaul at not Marvel, Mad Magazine, it seemed very sexist, very anti anything that wasn't white and male. And then Cracked Magazine is over here thumbing their nose. They didn't have as good of art or as good storytelling, but they're doing really whatever sticks to the wall. They're doing crazy stuff.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And Matt also was reprinting a lot of stuff from older issues. And I, when I would go back and look at Matt, the things I actually really liked from that was like the Basil Wolverton stuff and the really weird sort of 60s grotesque stuff. And the 70s stuff didn't really respond. I didn't really respond to very well. But that was the kind of stuff they were at in the 80s. So Cracked seemed more, at that time, was more my style,
And this is back when you get all this stuff on the shelf. I don't see Mad Magazine. I don't see comic books. You don't go to your local grocery store or drugstore and find this stuff anymore.
Occasionally, I will see it. A couple of the local, pharmacy or grocery store chains. Occasionally, they will have a spinner rack, or in the mom and pop stores. The most I ever see are like those Archie dusts, but very occasionally I'll see them there. But that's where I got everything from, those sort of local corner store magazine racks, and stuff like Gore Zone and Fangoria and Horror Mags and. All that stuff I used to get from there. And then when I got a little more sophisticated, it was Tower Records where I would get magazines. And by that point, I could take the bus to the comic stores in my town.
Yeah, it kind of changed in the late 80s where it became direct market, prestige format. But back then, you didn't give a crap what shape the comic really was in unless it was completely destroyed. And you didn't care if you had the previous one. Sometimes you would just grab it by the cover or who was in that issue. Now it's all about continuity. You got to have every single issue. It's kind of like that way with TV back then. You could just watch a show in one season, be fine. Whereas now you got to get every single one.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, it's very, very odd at this. And it would kind of, and my Delaney's must have just bought like some variety pack of comic books every month because they got some weird stuff. They got a lot of Now comics like Ralph Snart and the Fright Night comic book.
God.
And just
I hold the Fright Night comic near and dear to my heart. I adore it, even though the art was rough at times. And then they left it hanging, and they never finished it.
Yeah. And we'll never have a satisfying.
There's one bundle my grandparents would get me every Christmas. I think it was out of JCPenney or maybe Sears, where it'd be every issue of 1 month from Marvel. Like, say they get every single comic that came out in October, and they bundle it up in a box and send it to you for like $15. And this is how I first experienced the Defenders.
Was it that it was like plastic wrapped and it had like a white sheet on the paper on the top with like Marvel printed in red ink? God, and it was 10 comics side by side, so it was like 2 stacks of 10 made 20 comics.
Maybe.
We used to get those at BJ's Wholesale Club. They were $9.99 for 20 comics, and it was all comics from the previous like 2 months. I remember getting like Acts of Vengeance, a lot of those crossover
titles. Oh my God, I love that storyline.
Yeah, so it might have been that, but they've always done those sort of old stock packs. Like now, do you ever go to the store Five Below?
I've never heard of that one.
Oh, I don't know if you have them in Glendale or in Oregon on the West Coast, but it's basically a dollar store mixed with a KB Toys, and everything in the store is $5 or less. It's a chain, but they actually have really good stuff, and they sell those comic book packs. So it's like 5 comics for $2, and it's a blind pack. You don't know what's in there. It's a lot of '90s garbage, but that stuff's kind of fun.
Well, we did have a store called Hex. Actually, I grew up in Indiana. I spent the first 26 years there. Hopefully, I'll get amnesia and forget all of that eventually. But there was a store. It's kind of like a Kmart, a discount store kind of thing, where they would bundle up the comics. But here's the thing: is they didn't cover up what was in it, or maybe I was clever enough to tear open the packaging when my parents went around and see what was inside. But I remember getting the first, I think, 6 issues of Transformers for like $2. And
Nice.
not realizing, I guess, Marvel, that they would be worth a fortune real soon.
Oh, are they?
Well, they were at that time. The first 6 issues
Oh,
of
okay,
Transformers,
gotcha.
they killed them off and they brought them back.
Yeah.
Beautiful cover. I cannot remember. There's a guy, MD Bright, did the cover. If you've ever seen it with Shockwave, where
Yeah.
he's like standing sideways and says the Transformers are all dead. That's like my favorite cover of that series.
Yeah, I actually really used to like Marvel's licensed properties, and I actually liked Star Comics, which was their child's imprint of licensed comics. So they used to do Ninja Turtles, they used to do Alf, Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider Ham, stuff like the Wuzzles, the Get Along Gang,
Mad
Care
Balls.
Bears, Mad Balls. Yeah, I loved all those Now comics. Star Comics.
Star Comics, yeah, that was a short-lived print. Well, do you remember when Marvel? I know we're going way off tangent. Hey, everybody! I forgot to tell you the whole point of this episode is about the Defenders. But this is how we usually do episodes anyway. We just kind of warm it up and then get to the point. Star Comics was right around the time that Marvel was celebrating their 25th anniversary, where they got experimentally launched New Universe and Star Comics. New Universe was almost an instant disaster, but Star stuck around for 5-6 years. But I remember specifically the very first comic pack that I got, I think, was when they were doing the 25th anniversary. Where they had that one big picture and then all the characters around the border?
Yeah, the border, yeah.
That Snake Eyes one is my favorite cover.
Oh, yeah, I have one of those. Yeah, I was also, I had a subscription, believe it or not, to Marvel Age, which was the Marvel sort of in-house promo comic book.
Yeah, why?
And it was,
I remember that.
I loved it. Those are really fun. If you ever can buy yourself a run of Marvel Age, which are always super cheap. I think there's about 100 issues. You could probably buy every issue for like $10 total. If you're a fan of 80s comics, they're really fun because you can go in and read interviews with all these people. There's previews of comics. A lot of them never ended up happening. There's a lot of stuff talking about comics that changed by the time they actually came out. So, like, there's a New Mutants spinoff called Fallen Angels that I love. And they wrote about this in Marvel Age for like a year. And by the time it came out, I still enjoyed it, but it was completely different from what they had talked about the previous year in Marvel Age. So it was pretty interesting, reading at the time. But to go back, in my view, it was a good value for money because it would preview the upcoming comics so that I could know what to buy next month without wasting money.
What is the magazine that's out now? That behemoth with every single comic book merchandise.
Oh,
what is that thing called?
Previews.
That thing is, and they make you pay like $6 for that thing. It's a beast. It takes you like hours to get through.
Yeah, that's Diamond Previews because in the olden days, I think there were 7 or 8 comic distribution companies, and now Diamond is the only one left.
Which is
they bought all the other ones.
Isn't that some sort of a monopoly that's not legal? Seems like illegal.
Yeah, the way they get around it is they're a aftermarket seller, so they're basically saying, well, you can go to any of these companies direct and buy whatever you want. We're just a distributor.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I guess some products, well, also there are some other guys out there that, self-publish, so I guess that's probably their loophole. Have you seen this Alterna Comics that just came out? They're doing the old newsprint comics and selling for like $1.50.
No, but that's great.
Yeah, they're putting them back in stores. They're really cheap, and they put out 4 issues a month.
Oh, that's actually really cool. I'm going to have to check that out.
I sit there and I look at some of these old comics, and I smell them. And they have that weird vinegar. That wonderful. I'm getting high off comics, which I guess.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, there's a smell. There's, I don't buy floppies, as they're called, so much anymore, and I don't buy as many comics. But when I buy comics to read, I usually just buy the collected versions, and I do sort of miss the thrill of buying a new comic off the shelf. Like yesterday, I actually went and bought the new issue of Doom Patrol because Mike Allred drew it. It's kind of a one-off issue, and it was very exciting. It did cost $4, but it was very exciting.
Wow. Yeah, I don't buy individual issues anymore unless I go to some, like, antique shop and I'll find, like, a dump bin. I found there's this place up in Astoria that has, like, all these 70s and 80s comics for, like, $1 a piece, and I was just, like, shocked. So I picked up a crap ton of, like, old Power Man and Iron Fist and stuff like that. I want to find Master of Kung Fu. That's something I've never read, but it interests me. But I'm looking at these essential collections, and I love the black and white, and I miss looking at just the pencils instead of the digital color and whatnot.
Yeah, and the black and white is great because they're, those essentials are printed on good quality newsprint paper, but it's ideal for black and white. And I love them. And you get to see the art a little better because the color printing in the 80s, for the most part, was pretty garbage.
I've seen somewhere they completely get one whole page wrong. Like, none of these characters are the right color at all. What happened?
Right. It's 126. That's the new Defenders issue that I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's the first one I bought.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It was the first one I bought, and it's it's a quarter bin staple these days. But but whenever I see a copy of that, I always buy it. So I have like 20 copies of that comic.
Uh-oh. I know a guy like that who does that with the movie Tremors. No matter where he goes, he buys a copy of Tremors, and I'm like, that sounds like a bad thing. Are you okay?
Yeah, I mean, these are a quarter each. I imagine Tremors is probably a little more.
Yeah. Well, you probably end up handing out a few of those too. Like, hey, what's this? Hey, go ahead, keep it.
Yeah, and I've also used it for like I made a notebook out of one, and I've decoupaged.
This series, I don't understand why it's hated so much. Is it because cosmic adventures just are not popular anymore?
I think so. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's very 70s, but it's also sort of everything I love about Bronze Age Marvel. And it managed to utilize not all of but a lot of the horror characters who are always been my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe. And in such a better way than like the Midnight Suns thing did in the 70s, where they brought, Johnny Blaze back looking like renegade Lorenzo Lamas and,
Nomad. The same exact Nomad.
Yeah, it was terrible. Hellstorm, was no longer a son of Satan. He was like this, it was again like Lorenzo Lamas Renegades.
The show more popular than I thought.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't the same in that 70s boom of monster comics and weird heroes is right as just such a strong place in my heart. And so Defenders managed to have the right flavor of that, especially later in the series. Once they kind of wrote Hulk out.
Yeah, for you, it's weird that you like comics that were out before you were born. Which the only thing I really gotten into is the sword and sorcery stuff in the 70s.
Yep.
I can't. A lot of that superhero stuff is so poorly written. I know Stan Lee is held up as a legend, but some of his writing and some of the people who have followed him, I'm like, why do you talk so much in your head? Stop it. You don't even need to talk this much. Some of it can just be silent. It works for Snake Eyes.
Controversial opinion. I've never been a fan of Stan Lee, and I've never really given him much credit. I think he is a company man that managed to align himself with talented people and take a lot of credit for things that they did. Somehow come out smelling like a rose. But the 70s comics, there is some great writing. And J.M. DeMatteis, who wrote the bulk of the Defender stuff that I really love, is probably one of Marvel's best writers, especially in the 70s, along with Steve Gerber, who also wrote Defenders. And so sort of all the standout 70s and into the 80s writers that Marvel had were all writing for the Defenders. And so I think that's another reason that book really stands out. It was like these three guys and then Chris Claremont on X-Men, although he even got a little bit, spread a little too thin when he was writing too much. But I also like books that are older than me because when I was growing up, I could go buy at a flea market, a long box of comics from the 60s and 70s for $5. And that's what I read, because I could get them super cheap. I wasn't necessarily buying them brand new.
That's probably worth about $500 now, that long box.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's how I sold my entire comic collection when I was 18 so that I could move out and get my own apartment. And I made a good amount of money, and then I held on to some things. Like I had about 10 copies of Giant Size X-Men 1 and a few copies of Amazing Spider-Man 129, which is the first appearance of the Punisher. And I would sell, one a year every year to kind of get a little bit of cash. But what I used to do when I was a kid, starting at probably age 6 or 7, was I used to flip collections. So I would look in the want ads, I would go to flea markets, I would buy whole collections for cheap. I would take out what I wanted, and then I would sell the rest of the comic store and for a profit. So like the first 2 times I did it, I had to borrow money from my dad, but I paid him back plus interest. And then I had my own money to buy collections. And that's what I used to do. I'd take the bus, I'd buy collections, and I made a decent amount of money and enough. And more importantly, I got to build up my collection.
It shocks me that you didn't end up a con artist with that kind of, or like a real estate agent or something.
I know.
When I was, I want to say about 6th or 7th grade, I got my first price guide. And this is back when they were cheapo, not Wizard Magazine. I think it was the Overstreet, like, monthly or something. And I found out how much all these comic books were worth, and I would work, my friends, like, work an angle, and, oh, yeah, that's only worth, like, $1.50 or something like that. I'll trade you this, this comic. It's worth a lot more or whatever. And I was just getting, like, all these old Spider-Mans and stuff like that, and I feel bad about it now, but I got through college because I ended up selling those, like, years later just to pay for my tuition.
Oh, yeah, that's a scumbag. That's a scumbag move, but you got to do what you got to do.
I'm sorry, I feel like a dick. Well, okay, here's the thing is, I don't think we ever discussed this before, but my father was kind of a con artist and a fraud and compulsive liar, and working an angle was par for the course for him. I thought that was normal. I thought you took advantage of people who didn't know better, and it wasn't until early 20s that I was like, oh, I'm a piece of shit. Oh, I gotta stop this.
Yeah, that was my whole family. I recognized it early, though, but they were all con men and, doing check cashing schemes and all kinds of crap. So, yeah, for whatever reason, I managed to avoid that, but I was well aware of it.
My sister avoided it. She's like, here's the weird thing is my sister is so insanely honest that it's off-putting to most people, but at least she won't lie to you. Me, I'll find an angle. Now, even it's just to get myself out of trouble or keep from getting, like, punched or written up or something. Like, no, that's not what I meant. You misheard me. Crap.
Oh, yeah, it's second nature. Like, you have to actively think about not doing it.
It's terrible. I thought lying was normal until, like, one time in 7th grade, people were like, look, we know you're full of bullshit, okay? Just stop it. All these stories are fake. I'm like, oh, man.
Right.
Wait, you guys don't do that too? Oh my god.
You weren't buying it?
I don't even want to go into the stories I made up. It's shameful, embarrassing. But back to the comic. Let's back to true heroes instead of stupid teenagers.
Yes.
So I start off here with Volume 6. I've never read the Defenders except for that one issue I got with the pack. And I think it was after these 2 collections because I feel like it was the very end when Nighthawk had come back from the dead. And it was a real hodgepodge team. So that's not part of this. I'm actually shocked that they never finished the Defenders series in this Essential Collection.
Yeah, I keep waiting for the final volume, but there's not really people clamoring for it. But this is sort of a transitional period. So you have Nighthawk and you have a Night Slayer, a Demon Slayer is still hanging around, I think, at this point.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, I have Hellcat.
Hellcat, yeah. Gargoyle's been introduced so far. Or has he not?
No, he is.
No.
I actually quite enjoy Gargoyle. Gargoyle's weird because he's an old man trapped inside this demon's body. And if there's anybody with any logic and common sense who doesn't ride on emotion, it's Gargoyle.
Yeah, it's such a cool character, and I can't believe they haven't brought that character back in some capacity. Because it's a sweet old man trapped in a demonic hero body.
I think some of these characters are dead, and they've never brought them back. I have literally never seen Gargoyle, Valkyrie, and Moonshadow since this.
Yeah, Moonshadow hasn't come back. Valkyrie was such a cool character, although I imagine that they just thought she was maybe too much like Wonder Woman or something. But is it Moonshadow? Is that her name? It's not Moonshadow.
It's Moondragon.
Moondragon, that's right. She's a weird character, super weird character, that I'm surprised didn't come back in like Guardians of the Galaxy or something. And we had Beast and Angel, who they kind of stole for X Factor. And, they were kind of essential members of the Defendants for most of the run of the book. Because the book started, it was Doctor Strange, Namor, the Hulk, and Silver Surfer. That was kind of the original Defenders. And then Beast and Angel joined, and it started to kind of shift into this other book. And we started getting Hellcat and Son of Satan and all these weird demonic things coming in. And it was a pretty cool, weird run. It is a lot of B run characters, though, for most people.
I actually like that, and I think that's why this series gets a bad rap. During the late 70s, early 80s, it seemed like Marvel was just doing these hodgepodge teams. Do you remember the Champions?
Yeah, the Champions, which was Hercules and Ghost Rider, I want to say.
And Beast and Angel and I think Black Widow?
Yeah, they were constantly throwing Beast and Angel into whatever they could. Because I'm pretty sure they were Avengers members as well at some point. I don't know why they kept throwing them everywhere.
Well, I think, because that whole reboot of the X-Men, when they came back with giant-sized X-Men, they had these leftover guys they had no place for. So I think the Beast automatically went right to the Avengers and then would come back and forth. Like, he was always hopping in and out of the Avengers. And the Champions was like, well, who do we have? Because hero teams are selling very, very well. Who do we have that's not on a team? So they just grab, like, these random guys. Ghost Rider? Seriously? Why Ghost Rider on a team?
He's not a team player. He's a demon.
And then Champions was canceled pretty quickly. I think it lasted like 18 issues. And then they took Beast and Iceman and Angel, who still had a strong cult following, and then brought them over to Defenders, which I think was lagging in sales. I still don't understand the 4 team members: Silver Surfer, the Incredible Hulk, Namor, and Doctor Strange. So bizarre that any of them are together.
Oh yeah, that's an well, the way they sort of formed the team was that Doctor Strange brought them together because he needed really strong characters to help this specific problem that they had. So that was sort of the initial creation of the team. But that's an odd mix because the Hulk is not a team player. The Silver Surfer is not a team player. Namor is not a team player. It was like very uncontrollable loner types that were just in these teams. And it is interesting because now that I think about it, the original X-Men, the original 4 or 5, Jean Grey and Cyclops were the only 2 that stayed in the new X-Men. And then you have Beast and Iceman and Angel who are just left in the lurch. So let's just put them in a new team. And they're, 3/5 of the X-Men are in the Defenders.
I wonder if they were pissed. Like, hey, you mean we gotta go find a place? Shit. I love living in this mansion.
The band broke up and now we get screwed over.
So Wolverine's the Yoko of that team.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's weird that these 4 guys get together and the comic lasted as long as it did before they started adding tons of new people. How many adventures did they, I feel like Doctor Strange ended every adventure with, oh, sweet God, we finally made it through that one. How are we going to get through the next one? I need an aspirin or something.
Because they weren't an official team. They were just like, we just need to do this one thing. And it was like, here's another one thing.
Like
more and more one things. Yeah, constantly. And then you had Nighthawk, who was, I think, Nighthawk might have been the first character they introduced outside of those ones. And maybe Hellcat. But Nighthawk was a weird character. He was in a wheelchair, except at night.
That's strange. Now, is he a spin-off of the Squadron Supreme, or is it just coincidence?
It's just coincidence. I think the costume looks very similar. But, that was his powers. He also had, sort of ambiguous powers. It would kind of be like, what do we need him to do? How about Nighthawk can fly? How about he's got super strength? But only at night. And during the day, he's in a wheelchair.
Didn't Moon Knight have something like that? Like he was a normal guy, and then when the moon would come out, he'd get a lot stronger or something like that?
Yeah, it was stronger at night.
How did Moon Knight not end up on any of these teams? It's so strange.
Moon Knight was in a bunch of issues of Defenders as well.
Was he? Okay, I must have missed those.
Yeah. He popped up, around Defenders, probably in the issues in the 30s. They did a run of issues where the Guardians of the Galaxy were reintroduced. The original Guardians of the Galaxy, like Starhawk and those guys.
Yeah.
And they did a 3 or 4 issue run of that. But then they introduced Moon Knight. They were really crossing over a lot of different weird characters in comics. The Headmen, who are like a weird 60s group, who are really bizarre.
They drop acid? Were they members of the Monkeys?
The Headmen were scientists that all did weird things to their heads. So, one guy had taken his head and put it on a gorilla body. One was this woman who replaced her head with basically a T-1000 made out of red metal. So she could, change it into different faces and, arms and legs would come out of it. They're really bizarre.
Why would you choose to do this? That's a dumb...
I don't know. And the Headmen were the villains in a bunch of issues of Defenders. Really strange. The Headmen, and then like Nebulon and some of those cosmic characters. Although I don't ever think they ever introduced like Thanos or anything group. And then Jack Kirby did a couple of issues of the Defenders later too, which was kind of cool.
You can see a heavy Kirby influence in this whole comic. Like, not just the cosmic stuff, but in the way they design a lot of the characters until you get to around, like, 120 and it starts to have more of a modern look.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kirby, especially, like, in the late 70s, he did a bunch of covers. I think he might have even done some of the Moon Knight issues. And there's some cool Kirby stuff. Again, which is why I don't understand that given how much people love Kirby now and, you know, how much people love X-Men and some of these characters, I can't understand why these comics haven't had a renewed interest. Like, you can still you could pretty much put a run of the Defenders together for real cheap, like less than $100.
I got both of these essential collections for like $4 a piece.
Yeah, and they're great.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think I know. I do this. Have you noticed that I run over my words and I get tangled up in them? It's terrible.
No.
The comic books. I think the problem is Cosmic Adventures are too high-minded for the normal reader. They just want to see like your normal Avengers beat them up. You know, A, B, C, D. You know, everything's right in line. But you're talking like high-minded, strange ideas. Did you watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
No, I haven't seen them because the first one I was put off by because I was like, these aren't the Guardians of the Galaxy, because I had read, you know, the last thing I read was the Jim Valentino series from the 90s, but I really liked the 70s Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I have the same thing.
I had no idea.
When I heard about the heroes, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah, very strange. And there's a lot of they also wrapped up a lot of weird, like Omega the Unknown, which was a series I loved and got canceled. I remember them wrapping that up in the Defenders, and the Headmen were involved with that. They introduced Fool Killer, who got his own series later.
Love Fool Killer.
Which was Fool Killer was like the original Punisher in a lot of ways, but dressed like a pirate.
Let me ask you this. This is a tangent, but do you remember Scourge?
No, who's Scourge?
Okay, 1986, Marvel decided to introduce this vigilante called the Scourge, who was a villain, and he was taking out all these C and D level villains like Mirage and the Ringmaster and stuff like that. Like, you know, guys that just like using gadgets, you know, gadget villains. No one's serious. It was their way of cleaning house, I think. And he would pop into like an issue of Spider-Man, an issue of Iron Man, Captain America, and he would wipe out one guy, and he'd always say, "Justice is served." He was always in in normal makeup, you know, like a mustache, and he looked like a normal guy. He wasn't wearing his Scourge outfit. And then in, I think it's Captain America 319, he walks into the bar with no name, which is a villain hangout for all like these low-level blue-collar villains is what I like to call them.
Yeah.
And he wipes out with 2 Uzis, like 50 of them in one room. And then he becomes a serious villain, which I'm like, he's just the Punisher. He's the Punisher, but somehow he's the villain? I don't get it. What's the difference?
Well, it sounds like it sounds like a super villain Punisher, you know, whereas Punisher, it's okay because he's just killing, like, mob guys.
Yeah, and it just became this manhunt, and Captain America and him went at it, and it was a hell of a battle. It's one of my favorite storylines during the 80s that nobody ever talks about. It ran for about a year, and the build-up and payoff was that it never ends. Like, the Scourge gets killed by another Scourge. So, and then all of a sudden they just dumped the storyline. I thought it was going to continue for years. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very fair. I have no recollection.
So yeah, the Scourge is one of my favorite storylines, but Fool Killer and Scourge are kind of like the same concept, same idea, and neither one has really been embraced by fans.
No, and they tried to bring back Fool Killer in the 90s. I remember, like, when Sleepwalker and Darkhawk was around, they tried to bring back Fool Killer, which made sense because they're like, wow, this is a vigilante character that actually kills people, and this is very popular now, but it didn't really hit. But Defenders, you weren't getting horror comics in Marvel in the 80s, especially the early 80s, late 70s, because, like, Dracula had ended, Werewolf by Night had ended, and Ghost Rider had ended, and all those characters were showing up in the Defender.
Yeah, and those cosmic and horror ideas are a very particular niche idea, and I think what they did, which I enjoyed, but I think it might have shot themselves in the foot, was, I think, around 127. J.M. DeMatteis. By the way, I didn't know that he even wrote this. I know him mostly from Justice League, which is a whole different beast.
Right.
It's very funny, very wild and crazy title with all sorts of oddball characters. That's the only connection is, like, they grabbed a bunch of hodgepodge characters to relaunch Justice League. And he decided to make it a normal team book. So for, like, 10 issues there, it's so boring and mundane, and there's nothing strange and unusual. And I think that's what killed readership.
Yeah, it's very possible because before that you had that six-fingered hand storyline, which is about these 6 demons trying to take over the world. And that leads up into issue 100, I think, which was a double-sized issue. But you had this run of, like, there's a great cover, I think it's for 95, where Dracula's busting through this window, and then 96, it's Ghost Rider, and his hands are on fire, and there's a demon, and, you know, there's just these crazy... And I remember there was an issue after 100 that I think it might have been a Halloween issue, but I'm not totally sure, but it was called... The storyline was called The Haunting, and the cover is just this amazing them in a graveyard, and there's ghosts rising from the graves, and that stuff just, you know, it was really hitting everything I liked there.
Yeah, I wonder why it is they decided to fill Volume 7 with the Beauty and the Beast miniseries and the Iceman miniseries when they're barely connected to this, and it feels like just like it stops everything, where they could have fit more issues. Maybe they thought they were going to do a Volume 8, and it never happened.
Yeah.
But I kind of glazed over Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they didn't know where else they would put those since they're really not X-Men-y, and they probably are, you know, if they're close to something, it probably is, you know, close to being Defenders-y, but yeah, they're very not within the storyline at all.
Yeah, Volume 7 is kind of a letdown, but I'll say this, 132, where they take on this, like, bio monster, which is like the Thing, and it just spreads throughout their headquarters. That was a really good issue. And then when they focus on Gargoyle, I actually really enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, and there's a really great Gargoyle miniseries that I wish that they actually put into the book, because it's one of the better things to come out of the Defenders, and that would make sense to collect in the Defenders.
Right, because where else are you going to collect it up? Maybe they thought that would be in Volume 8. 136. I don't know if you have it with you right now. Are you flipping through the book?
Yeah.
Who does that cover? Because that is one of the greatest covers I've ever seen.
I can look it up. Let me see. Issue 136. Taking me a minute here. Sorry.
It's okay.
They have some great covers. I mean, I really love the Defenders covers. Kirby's ones that he did which is in the early issues, are great. Of course, 126 is the one that I always buy. 127 is really cool with Angel getting crushed, and then 130 has this amazing painting of Valkyrie. Have you ever seen that one?
Oh yeah, I'm looking right now. It's
it's the same guy. Yeah, it's the same guy who painted 136.
Really?
Is with the demon. I mean, the Gargoyle, who looks very much like Jack Kirby's demon. But yeah, we also weren't getting, you know, painted covers on regular Marvel books at that time at all. And that is a really great cover. Let me see if I can remember who does it. Looks like it's signed by FC.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is. I think I do it one time, and I friended the guy on Facebook, so I feel like an idiot. So I'm gonna look this up.
You won't know.
Yeah, he's never gonna read it. But I looked him up, and he did covers for, I think, Ambush Bug or something like that.
Okay, that would make sense. I mean, Dazzler had a painted cover at this time. Oh, Frank Sirocco?
Okay.
I think.
That sounds right. FC.
Yeah, I think it's Frank Sirocco or Sirocco.
I think it's funny that, he runs Pop Daddy Vintage. I knew that. He's out of San Jose. But yeah. He did some series in the 80s where you look at it and go, oh, it's really cartoony, where here it's not cartoony. But either way, I really like his artwork.
Well, he was an ink. I think he inked the book. Didn't necessarily get to paint that much. So I think he was a cooker for the most part.
Yeah, it says here he did.
But I would happily spend good money on those covers.
Alien Legion. He's the co-creator of Alien Legion. That's why I know the art.
Makes sense. For Epic, an Epic book.
Yeah, you're cutting out again. Doggone it.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I'm looking at this cover, though, for 130, and I look at this and I go, could we trade this out as a movie instead of Red Sonja? Because I will watch this.
Yeah. Oh, 100% all day. Valkyrie's it's kind of a badass character. And yeah, that cover's amazing. That looks like a movie poster.
I think it's funny. There's this weird sub thing going on during the later issues where everybody's obsessed with Moondragon. Like, oh, she's single. Does she like me? Oh, she's so beautiful. I can't handle it.
Yeah, which is real weird. Because she's very androgynous and very 70s. She reminds me of the princess from the Neverending Story.
She reminds me of V'ger from Star Trek 1.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Versus Combata.
Yeah, very strange character.
Okay, I love Sword and Sorcery, but can I tell you that I was bored out of my mind watching Neverending Story?
Yeah, everybody was, except for when that werewolf nothing character shows up. But everything else is pretty boring.
But everybody I know loves that movie. I'm like, I must be too old to watch it. Like, I have a fear of watching Dark Crystal now as a grown-up, which is different than my fear when I was a child because I was creeped out by the weird marionette creatures. Not marionette, but the puppeteering just it was off-putting.
Puppets.
Yeah, and then I love the Muppets though, but I look at Dark Crystal and I feel like uncomfortable.
Oh, they're very different. The Muppets and the Dark Crystal puppets are night and day different. Yeah, I love the Dark Crystal, but yeah, the Neverending Story was very boring for the most part, and I've rewatched it now. Yeah,
There's 3 movies. There's a cartoon and a TV series. Can you imagine if it was a comic book, like the guy just trudging along, I'm just trying to keep this franchise going?
Yeah, I can't. I don't understand why there's that love for it. I mean, I just don't know. My dog does look like Falcor the Love.
Oh, nice. Yeah, well, I have a love for a lot of things that people just look at me and go, why? Why do I love the G.I. Joe comic with an unwavering passion? Why? I don't know.
It's really good, though. It's really good. It was a pretty good comic.
Did you get to talk to Larry Hamill?
No, I didn't. At Denver, sadly. But hopefully I'll have a chance again someday.
What is a weird comic that you really enjoy that no one else remembers?
That no one else remembers. Well, people remember Ambush Bug, I think, but I love Ambush Bug. I liked Mazin Man, which was a Mazin Man, really weird DC comic from the 80s that was kind of a comedy comic. It reminded me a little bit of Plastic Man. No one seems to remember that one at all. But yeah, it's hard to tell what people... Ralph Snart, that's probably one. That's what I say, Ralph Snart.
I remember my roommate in college was a huge fan of Ralph Snart and a comic book called Slapstick, neither of which I've ever read.
Oh yeah, Slapstick was a Marvel comic, and it was essentially Freakazoid. And the character was like, it was a huge ripoff of The Mask. Like Marvel basically ripped The Mask off before the movie, but when the comic was popular. I remember Slapstick.
My one comic that I hold near and dear to my heart that no one seems to remember, and it's not even that old. It's like from 10 years ago. It was DC's Space Ghost when they made it dead serious.
Oh yeah,
painted by Ariel Olivetti. You remember this?
Yeah, absolutely. I have the collection, the collected volume.
Amazing. I love that comic, and I was shocked that it didn't sell at all, and they never continued the series. Like, no, it's so good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I do have that for sure. What issue does Essentials Volume 7 is the last one, right? What issue does it drop off at?
Let me look here. It has a lot of filler, so I just thought it was weird. And there's even the guide to the Marvel Universe. They even have entries from that in here. It's 139. Didn't it continue to like 150 or 151?
Yeah. Went to 152.
The cover for 139 is done by Mike Mignola.
Yeah. He did some covers of a few things later as well. A couple other issues, I think, too. I think he did 140, and maybe later. I want to say like 144. There's like it's not Joe. There's a crossover at 147 with Nick Fury when he's Sergeant Fury in Commando, and it's got this like a cover, and it's really, really odd. But it went for another 12 issues or something. I guess you can't. Yeah, you could have done the whole series if you didn't put the 2 miniseries. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. I thought of something else real quick, and I lost it there. There's one thing that I read obsessively, and this makes me seem demented, but that Marvel Guide to the Universe, towards the end, they did the Handbook of the Dead. Do you remember these?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, with Captain Marvel and Gwen Stacy. Yeah, they actually brought back... They did deluxe editions after that. And then in the 90s, they brought them back as cardboard loose-leaf things that you were supposed to put in a binder. and those were terrible. But I love the handbooks of the Marvel Universe. There's even one just for weapons and technology.
Really?
And I was that just shows like the Baxter Building and Avengers Mansion and the Punisher's Armory and all that kind of stuff. And I loved like DC's Who's Who. I loved all that.
Yeah, there's one thing, speaking of equipment, I was looking at my wallet today, and I have Iron Man on it, and it's old school 70s Iron Man, when it was just, like, plain old yellow and red.
John Romita.
Why does he have abs?
Just because he's vain. If you're making a suit out of iron, you want to make yourself look good.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this going, there's no way that costume was so tight that that they need to make room for his abs. So he purposely sculpted that in, like, all right, I got to make sure I have a washboard abs. I know I've been drinking for, like, 3 days straight, but I got to look good.
Right.
Well, I think we've come to the end of this episode. We could wander off for hours just talking about other things, but trying to stay on topic, and then we did a terrible job at hey.
Well, it's fine. I mean, I love the fact that you got Patsy Walker, who's Hellcat here, but then becomes like an actual demon, and then, all this kind of stuff that happened in this later. You get some really cool stuff in these 2 volumes. I recommend people check them out.
Yeah, they tried to revive it a few times, and each time I feel like they lose the spirit of the original series. Like, okay, so they had the comedic version when they brought them back, like the I Can't Believe It's Not the Justice League.
They did the Secret Defenders, and then Eric Larson did a version called The New Defenders.
Yeah, and now they're back. And when I hear them say, oh, well, the Netflix series is going to turn into the Defenders, I'm like, no, the Netflix series is turning into Marvel Knights. This is not the Defenders. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's the same name, but a totally different reason. You don't have, this really cool, weird mixture of cosmic characters. A, because, not one company has all the rights to them, but B, it would be really strange. I mean, I can't picture them having Gargoyle on screen. And they seem to be, the Marvel Cinematic stuff really seems to be avoiding a lot of the satanic or demonic stuff. Even with, Doctor Strange, it was more sort of Eastern philosophy, and they really avoid any of the demonic things.
Yeah, I want to see... eventually they're going to run out of characters. They're going to run out of stuff that they can do in one style. Doctor Strange seems to be a turn towards something unusual, but I would like to see... I don't want to see Blade come back, unless he's part of a team or something, but I want to see Werewolf by Night. I want to see, Brother Voodoo. I want to see these more cosmic and horror stuff. And maybe do Man-Thing properly.
The zombie... Oh, yeah, that Man-Thing sci-fi movie was oof. Yeah, like, do a full-on Legion of Monsters. It would be great.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who are the other monsters in that universe that are well known. Because Ghost Rider's exhausted.
Yeah, Ghost Rider's been exhausted, even though they haven't done a 70s set Ghost Rider, which I still think they should do. You have Son of Satan.
Okay.
You could do Hellcat. You could do Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is a weird character. There's quite a few. I'm trying to think of one off. Oh, you have Satana. You have a lot of the stuff they did in the Legion of Monsters or the Monsters Unleashed comics. What's the she's like Chitara, Tigra, the Werecat. There's some weird stuff.
Is there a werebear out there? I just want someone to have a movie called Werebear.
Werebears? Yeah, I think it should happen. I can't think of one. Although, didn't one of the Alpha Flight turn into a bear?
That is true. Well, no, hold on. I'm thinking of I thought that was Justice League, where it's Ursa Major or something like that.
Oh yeah, but the one of the Alpha Flight characters, which I think is Snowbird, who's like the mystical character.
Well, there's two of them. There's Sasquatch and her.
She could turn into any Canadian animal. She was like,
why only Canadian?
Because she was like tied into the spirit and the earth up there or something. Because it was a very Canadian comic.
Oh my god! Have you watched the Lego Batman movie yet?
No, is it good?
It's really good, but there's a short on there where they're interviewing Batman to join the Justice League, and they're like, okay, so who are all your heroes? And he's like, Michael J. Fox, Wayne Gretzky, Alan Thicke, William Shatner. Batman, are you Canadian? He goes, no, just coincidence that those are all Canadian people. And Superman comes in and goes, yeah, he's totally Canadian, man. So they kick him up to Justice League Canada, and it's just a talking maple leaf and a guy riding on a Zamboni.
That they could solve all crimes in Canada.
Because they're Arlenian. But that actually leads me to what may be our next episode, if you tolerate my bullshit, is Alpha Flight.
Absolutely. Yeah, which again was another comic that managed to do a lot of horror stuff in the context of a superhero comic, and I thought was really cool.
All right. So, is there anything you want to throw out there before we go? Anything you want to pitch?
No. Got my usual garbage every Wednesday with TV Guidance Counselor, and just out and about.
And your CD?
Yeah, it's called The Vanity Project Volume 1, Hollywoodland. You can get it wherever fine digital music is sold. There's merchandise on the TV Guidance Counselor, actually on iCanRead.com, my website, but there's TV Guidance merchandise up there now if people have an interest in that sort of thing.
All right, everybody, check us out on Facebook under Retro Rocket Entertainment, and thank you, Ken, for being the guest this episode.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, have a good night. Hey, Beavis.
What's going on, butthead?
There's these two dumbasses named Michael and Jacob. They do this podcast. It's called Bud and Tunes. No, it's not. Stop it. It's called Back in Tunes. You guys are jerks. Get out of here.
Fucking assholes. I forget that they're teenagers sometimes.
You suck.
You know what? Go fuck yourself. Get the fuck out of here, butthead. I'll shove your... I'll definitely turn you into a butthead. I'll shove your head so far up your fucking ass, you're gonna have to wear yourself as a hat.
I am the great Cornholio. Blah, 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 blah. I need TP for my bungle.
That's it. I'm getting a fucking tranquilizer. Fuck you, Beavis. We've needed this since day one.
What the hell? Woody, are you the two jerks masturbating in my... I can't do the voice. I can only do what the hell?
Hey, you boys are whacking off at my camper.
There, perfect. It's so much better at this than I am.
Now wait just a minute. We're on our way to Washington, D.C.
Okay. All right, everybody. It's our 4th anniversary. This episode will be discussing the works of Mike Judge, animation and live action. And also throwing on at the end of this episode is another Perfect Saturday Morning I did with my friend Jeff Kalmbach. He is in the band The Spasmatics. They're an excellent cover band. They're more than just a cover band. They nerdicize all these songs. It's really great. There's stuff on YouTube. You should check them out. But he's going to be the last half of this episode. So it's going to be a supersized 4th anniversary. Just letting you know, and I'm pretty sure you all know because we've been talking about it for a few months now, this is the final season of Back in Tunes. We're not going to stop talking about animation, but we feel like we're kind of hitting the end of the road on this particular show. The plan was always 5 years. You know, you and I kind of discussed, like, that's a good stopping point.
Right, yes. It can only go on for so long. Too bad I can't say the same for Supernatural, because it's still fucking
Why is this still going on? Oh my god, 13, 14 years it feels like.
Please, for the love of God, stop that show. It must end. See, even Peter Lorre agrees.
I wish I could do a Vincent Price. I'm the Vincent Price, dear. That's a terrible Vincent Price.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Vincent Price.
Wow, that's more like James Mason, though. I can't do it. I'm James Mason. Nope, I'm gonna stop. I shouldn't do any voices at all. You should just I'd leave that to you. But I was watching Salem's Lot. For some reason, for a week or two, I pinned down pretty much the James Mason voice, but I can't remember how I did it. That's the worst thing about impersonations is you can seem to do it. You hear it like once or twice, and you seem to lock in on pretty much what it is. You may not sound exactly the same, but you have the cadence perfect.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I just hear it, and then I just do it. Just like when perfecting accents, you know, watching all these shows like Monty Python and, you know, watching their, you know, Holy Grail and stuff like that, just memorizing how fucking hilarious they are. And for some reason, I just want to do an impression of it, and it can get there. I don't know how my, like, vocal cords or whatever it is that's, you know, tuning to it.
Yeah.
It's like an automatic thing. It's a switch. It just goes on.
Lucky.
You know,
I can do characters. I can build. See, I guess that's our talent. Is you can do voices, and I mean, when we did have time, we wrote sketches for the show. We haven't done that in like a year and a half, but I have like the silly concepts and the characters, but not imitations, which is a different thing.
Oh God, I know. Every time he does that voice of me, I get a little pissed off because I feel the pitch isn't right. Well, you know what, Stewie? Fuck you, all right? It's not my fault. Your show's just getting too bland and boring. Little asshole.
All right, so what the goal is here is, I think this is episode 132. We plan on stopping at 150. I have the schedule completely broken down for the rest of the year.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if we'll last the whole year. If we get through it, we get through it. We'll be still doing some Perfect Saturday Morning episodes in the... I think what we're going to do is probably do like 4 episodes of Back in Tunes, take a break. I'll do a couple of the Perfect Saturday Mornings, and then some more Back in Tunes until we finish our 150. So if you want to be on the Perfect Saturday Morning playlist as a guest, just let me know, because we will be ending. Once we hit episode 150, I'm done. What we're going to be doing is launching a newer show, which is mostly like just nerd culture, talking video games, comic books, newer stuff, because Back in Tunes is kind of a retro show.
Right.
We'll still be talking about animation, some older stuff. If there's a cartoon out there that we feel is worth discussing for maybe 10, 15 minutes instead of the full, we usually do minimum 30 minutes to 50, whatever, sometimes over an hour. But I feel like the shows that are worthy of that kind of discussion are pretty much done. And I'm trying to find the list here, and you can probably hear me flipping papers in the background. I hope I didn't lose it. Okay. Yeah, I got it. No, this is episode 130, so we got 20 more to go. Andrew Camacho will be coming back for one more episode. We'll be discussing another chunk of the Cartoon Network originals. We've done like 3 of them so far, and doing a final one. So it's going to be separate. We're going to be doing Courage the Cowardly Dog, Cow and Chicken, and Grim and Evil, and stuff like that. So I wanted to do a send-off episode with him. That's not going to be counted in the 150. This is about me and you. I mean, that's kind of where the core of the show has been since year 2. I did have guests because you got really, really busy one Christmas where you just had no time. So I had guests come in, but it always feels like I was cheating on you. So I don't want to do that anymore.
I don't blame you. It was oh God, that year was hellish. The end of it, from September till I got laid off. Yeah, no, it was hell. I lost so much weight.
Yeah, and then we burned through episodes like crazy.
I looked amazing.
When you weren't working, we did an episode like every week, sometimes twice a week.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah, no. Oh jeez, it went on like that. Yeah, no, I wasn't finding a job till like months later.
Yeah.
Oh God.
There was a spinoff of this. We did, I think, 8 episodes of, called What the Fuck Tunes. Where there was just really, really awful, crazy shit that I didn't feel like I needed to subject you to. Plus, we didn't have that much time. So, Tony, thank you for being a guest on that. But he is finishing up college, and he has his own podcast that he launches now called Above the Airwaves, and they've filled in during one of our gaps. So that's ending. But yeah, year 5 is starting right now. Basically, that's going to be the end of it. And we'll go on to... I'll reveal the name of the show later because I don't want anybody stealing it.
Oh, man. Okay, well, one of these days, when we do discuss, like animation or, nerd culture and stuff like that, and when you get the chance to see these movies, we have to discuss them. And those 2 are Coco and Black Panther.
Yeah, so
just to FYI.
Newer stuff... Well, I always wait till video. I don't go to the theaters anymore. I haven't been to a theater since Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And, that was a year... wow, that's almost 2 years ago, huh?
Almost a year, yeah.
Oh, that was only a year ago? Okay. I thought it might have been longer. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. But now, onward, my friend.
Let me, real quickly, though, some of the stuff we'll be discussing in upcoming episodes. Angry Beavers, the PJs, Duck Dodgers, Roger Rabbit, Woody Woodpecker, all those Jim Carrey cartoons, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber and whatnot. Cowboy Bebop, we got Final Fantasy, Titan AE as a movie episode, we got Duckman, Cops, Bobby's World, one final Adult Swim episode we discussed the Venture Brothers and a few others. Scooby-Doo, we've never done Scooby-Doo, we've never done Yogi Bear, I got Mission Hill, which is my favorite cartoon of all time, and some of the cable and MTV stuff from the early 2000s. So that's just a small idea of what we'll be doing. All the leftover cartoons, which... we always made the rule 20 years and prior. But of course, we started stretching that around year 3, where we just started, adding some stuff from 15 years ago. So you're going to get some of the smaller cartoons that weren't as popular, or they're newer, that we didn't discuss in Back in Tunes, mixed in with the new show. So it'll be like 10, 15 minutes of that, and then we'll discuss video games, movies, comics, and stuff like that. So Comics on Infinite Earths will probably also be shut down. I didn't do as many episodes of that, but it just seems like it's time to put that into that nerd episode.
I will say this, however, we will never discuss Teen Titans Go. Thank you, Alfred Hitchcock.
No, never.
Thank you.
He from the grave, he knows. He knows what's good and what's bad. Teen Titans Go. I love the Teen Titans, man, but I want to see a cartoon that's more like the Marv Wolfman, George Perez run of the 80s, where it's like, pretty serious. This is just basically DC's version of X-Men, and then all of a sudden Teen Titans Go comes out. Barf, no.
And it's actually getting a theatrical release in April. What the fuck?
No, what about Young Justice? Young Justice, man.
I know. I'm hoping that gets renewed on Netflix or something. I mean, seriously, there's so much potential in that. And I want to see what the hell happens. Wait, you've watched all of season 2, right?
No, I've never even seen Young Justice.
Oh, damn it, I can't spoil it then.
No, you can't, because that's going to be in one of those episodes we discuss in the future, on that new show. To give you a taste, though, we've been kind of adding bits and pieces here. So I want to talk about the entertainment news real quick. Aquaman, first previews have been extremely strong reaction from the audience, saying that it's more Wonder Woman level than Justice League and Batman vs. Superman level.
Well, that's because Zack Snyder's not involved.
Right. I mean, it's sad how he left the universe, but he was going to get removed. Oh,
don't get me wrong, yeah.
That is I'm just really happy, because I've been getting into the Aquaman comics lately, and there's a lot more mythology there than I thought, and it's kind of scary now. We're going to be discussing Aquaman and Submariner on an upcoming episode of Comics on Infinite Earths, if you're interested. Also in the news, Conan the Barbarian has been optioned by Amazon. They went ahead and ordered 2 full seasons, which is crazy. So I'm going to guess...
Don't you want a... sorry.
Go ahead.
Shouldn't Amazon wait until the first season's good? I mean, it being, streaming TV show, you definitely have a lot more to work with, and your censors and your you don't have to be censored either. It can be definitely for mature audiences. I mean, fuck, look at the tick.
Well, I watched the first episode and I couldn't get into it, but here's the thing. Okay, so Conan, here's my 2 guesses. Either they were desperate for a Game of Thrones replacement, because isn't Game of Thrones on its final season?
Yeah, it doesn't come out till next year, though.
So what I'm figuring is, by the time Conan is shot, because the pilot episode hasn't even been shot yet, by the time they get the first season ready to go, it's going to probably premiere the minute Game of Thrones ends, like the next day. And maybe that was part of it. It's like, hey, if you want the rights to this, because it's going to be a hot property, you got to assign to this many episodes, or we're going to go to a different network. And Amazon's like, well, shit, let's just do this. Or it was more cost efficient to do it that way, because as you spread a show out, the episodes get cheaper, which is way old television used to be. That's why a lot of shows like Sopranos. Sopranos kind of changed things, where we could just do 10 episodes. They were big budget. They were on cable. There was a different rules for Sopranos than there was for regular network television, where they always had to have the 22 to 24 episodes, and the more you did, the whole season overall would be cheaper.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Also, as far as like casting Conan, I'm like, you can't get Jason Momoa. He's Aquaman now.
Right. But okay, so this is where I'm an asshole, and I didn't even think before I said it. And this is about, 8 years ago when they were announcing that Jason Momoa was cast. I go, what the hell? Conan's a white guy. I don't understand. See, look, I'm a fucking asshole. I'm going to apologize right now. And someone goes,
I know.
It's a fictional character. And I was like, oh, fuck, you're right. I forgot. Cimmeria isn't a real place. It's a made-up place. He can be whatever color. But, you read the comics for so long, you see the movies, the TV show, and in the books, they portray him as a white guy. I don't know why I thought this. It's so stupid.
Yeah,
and subtly, I think
the same... Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the same thing with James Bond. I'm like, he's a fictional fucking character.
Right. It's like, no, he's a white guy. No, he's not. He's a fictional character. You can make him anything you want.
However...
He has a history of being white. That doesn't mean you can't change that history.
Exactly. However, when it comes to comic books or like novels where the main character is definitely identified as, a person of color or someone who isn't white, then if you whitewash the character, oh yeah, we got some fucking problems.
Right. Well, Black Panther, someone was like, well, what would happen if they just made a movie where it was all white people. I mean, they make Black Panther and it's all black people except for 2 white guys, and everybody's in an uproar. I was like, what are you talking about? Every movie is like all white guys with the exception of 2, black guys. That's like every movie for the last 90 years. What do you just?
Where they've been
dumbass.
Where people of color have always been just like plot objectives, but in Black Panther, oh fuck no, it fucking just.
Well, it's set in Africa, and the character's name is Black Panther. If you revealed the Black Panther to be white under that costume, that would be the biggest slap in the face. Well, I'm sure like right now Jeff Sessions is trying to find a way to outlaw the movie Black Panther and recast it with like Chuck Norris or something.
Yeah, no, too late. It's already made. I think its second weekend it made the 700 million mark.
Yeah. It's they would cast Steven Seagal because he's a good old Russian boy, and they just have to call it Blob Panther.
These days, yeah.
Bland Panther.
I wouldn't see that shit. No, anything with Steven Seagal. No, I'm done. I'm done with that guy. But however, this is what I wanted us to say about Aquaman. As far as like the solo movies can go, for like the DC universe, this is good. Like they're getting their own setup.
Yeah.
You don't have to focus on. You don't have to bounce around from character to character to character.
Well,
Not
also,
the way they.
That's another thing. Aquaman is white in the comics, but no one's losing their mind over it being Jason Momoa because for some reason, I think that people were embarrassed by it for years. Like, okay, we need to shut up. We're just like, no, don't mention it.
Exactly. Also, as far as it goes, how the chemistry between Walter Hamada and James Wan works out perfectly well, considering Walter Hamada had worked on The Conjuring and Insidious and It. He was the producer for that. He knew how to present a story.
Have you seen It?
And James Wan, yes, I loved it actually. I mean, my God, you get invested in the characters themselves, which is great, especially for superhero movies. You really want to know like more about the hero because. Let's face it, comic books aren't as popular of a medium as TV shows or movies.
No.
So
even at their peak, they weren't even close.
No, sadly no. So basically, you want to present it just right. How Wonder Woman was able to. And you also want a director who knows what they're doing. James Wan knows what he's doing. He wants to make Aquaman just as badass as he is.
Yeah. He is
no
badass.
More talking to fish
now that I've read the comic books, I'm like, he doesn't talk to fish. He coerces them in a direction, and they can choose to take that or not. But he is truly hardcore, and I don't mean in a way that Peter David wrote him in the 90s where they chopped off his hand and gave him a hook and he grew a beard and all of a sudden he's wearing like that weird battle armor stuff. That was bullshit. That was gimmicky. And now, though, he looks exactly the same as he always has, but they made the character so much stronger than I remember him being.
Yeah, well, I remember in the animated series, Aquaman had superior strength, just not as on the Superman level. However...
Go ahead.
However, like I said, I mean, we get it. Aquaman always talking to fish, jokes, this and that. Plus, there's more than just fish under the sea, okay? And this is a mythological kind of, setting. He could talk to fucking krakens. He could talk to Megalodon. He could talk to all these giant, colossal, murderous fucking sea animals.
Yeah, well, we don't know what's down there. That's the thing, is that it's the last great unknown outside of, on this planet. In the comics, they do a relaunch, I think, for the New 52, where they take on the Trench, which were these creatures that were prehistoric, and they were always trapped inside this cave, and something goes wrong, and it blows open, and they come out, and they walk onto the beach, and they just eat everybody. They're like walking piranhas, and Aquaman has no power over them because their brain makeup is different than every other creature in the sea. So he can't talk to them, he can't reason with them, and he is just basically a lunch waiting to happen, and it's truly horrifying.
Oh, God.
But I heard
that's
that the Trench,
cool.
they're going to be in the movie.
Oh, fuck, that's awesome.
Right?
Well, I mean, considering what they did with Justice League, they're kind of going with the New 52 approach.
Yeah, and Aquaman might be the last of that world, the Snyder world, because Flashpoint, from what I'm hearing, is going to be the point where they reboot the world in a brighter sense.
Oh, definitely. I mean, as you said before, Snyder's tone deaf. Like, him making Superman dark, not good. But in Justice League, I kid you not, I felt like I was watching the original Superman, how he should be presented. But
the weird mustache, though, thing. That lip looks weird.
Eh? I mean, it did look weird. It does look a little weird, but I'm like, it's not that bad.
Are you getting it?
Could have been a
Are
lot
you
worse.
gonna get it here in a couple weeks when it comes out?
Oh, definitely, dude. I really enjoyed the film. I just love seeing the chemistry between all the actors and their characters. It felt like they were getting closer to the Justice League animated series, which is like the best presentation of these characters.
Okay, that's good.
But anyway,
I'm curious to see it because I watched Suicide Squad yesterday or 2 days ago, and I realized it was way worse than I remembered it being. I know some people stand up for it, but man, I'm like, no way, no how.
well,
Lady,
no, I don't.
You are evil. I'm like, Will Smith, you have the street cred and the professional cred and everything. You know that is the stupidest line to say. That you are an Academy Award nominated actor. Act like it.
Well, I blame like the studios and the producers like stepping in. Oh no, we need to tone it down. It's too dark and there's too much language because Batman versus Superman was too dark. Oh,
I didn't realize Trippy Dog was in charge of the studio.
The box office for the international was good, but domestic was a letdown. I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to let you all go.
Yeah, although I will have to say, as far as it goes for the mustache, it's not our fault there had to be reshoots. Joss Whedon had the right idea. I mean, what Zack Snyder was doing was a little too much.
But with the mustache, it looked like Superman a porn parody.
Oh, most, yes, like a mustacheless Freddie Mercury. But still, I do give props to Henry Cavill because he goes through a lot of physical stress just to get that perfect Superman body.
Yeah. Have you seen the pictures of Zach Levi as Shazam?
No, they already have pictures of it.
No, it was taken clearly by someone on set who shouldn't have been taken. It's taken from the back, but you can tell the costume is the classic Shazam costume. They didn't Snyder. They didn't Snyder it up, man. They went OG.
Good, no, because seriously, look back at like Man of Steel. Why is the costume so friggin' dark?
Yeah.
Why is it such a dark blue? I mean, I get your like cinematic style.
I don't get the Flash costume. That costume's just stupid looking to me.
Well, I mean, the way it was like built up and scientifically explained when Batman's mentioning it, it's like this is the kind of material they use on when it comes to space shuttles, so they don't burn up. So I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense because he moves so fast. But still, it reminds me of the Injustice video game costume.
Okay, yeah, I remember that game. Okay, we're going on 20 minutes here, but quickly, last thing is Gambit movie. The director quit. So he's like the fifth director to quit. Gore Verbinski is out. So they have no director and no direction. I don't know if the studio's going to drop it again, but it's been like, what, a 2-year delay now? They've gone through so many directors. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, Channing Tatum said, like, he's still committing to it. He'll still play Gambit.
He needs to get it going. I think he's going to have to be in the next X-Men movie in order for it to work. I don't understand why... Okay, so this new X-Men movie doesn't seem to be going in the direction I want it to. I don't know why the guy directing it is directing it. It seems like a last-ditch effort by Fox. I just feel like they should somehow throw Gambit in with one of the X-Men movies first so we get an introduction. Because the only introduction we have is from that Wolverine movie that everybody hates.
Oh, yeah, no. It's not... terrible decision on the studio's part. But they got it right with Logan. Oh, they got it right with Wolverine and then Logan.
Yeah, I like the Wolverine movie quite a bit. I actually liked it more than Logan.
Oh, me too.
I know, blasphemy, but Logan was a little too dry for me. I don't know.
It was just so bittersweet because you know what's going to happen. But anyway, one more thing. The next X-Men movie, Dark Phoenix, I cannot wait to see that.
I am not excited in any way whatsoever. Sorry, guys. It looks like we're doing the same thing. It's doing The Last Stand again. I'm just not feeling it. I'm more excited for Deadpool and Cable and the introduction of New Mutants and X-Force.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, I will say this about Dark Phoenix. I think they're actually... Lalandra is going to be in it. So I'm like, oh shit, we're going with the actual story.
Yeah.
And plus,
I'm a huge
this is
fan
an
of
alternate
Cannonball.
timeline now.
Cannonball and Sunspot are two of my favorite characters when I was a kid, so I'm really excited about New Mutants. And they get added to X-Force.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, back to Mike Judge.
All right, Mike Judge. Basically, just covering what he's done in animation. It's funny is I actually saw Frog Baseball before it ever premiered as Beavis and Butthead. It was a short as part of Liquid Television. You were only like 3 or 4, I think, when Liquid Television was at its peak.
Yes, I was. I did watch that. I think it was part of a short It took place after a short of like, or it was just a picture of George Washington, and the mouth was just moving, just going blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it was MTV before reality took over and destroyed the point of MTV. I feel like that Death Strike launched with Real World in 1992. So Liquid Television premiered, I think, the year before. And Frog Baseball came in, I think, around the second season. Same thing for Eon Flux. They were all shorts.
Oh, yeah.
The other one that I remember specifically was these pencil stick figures reenacting movies. And they did Night of the Living Dead. But they did it as stick figure animation. And it was amazing. And that was a place for guys who didn't have a lot of money to get exposure. I wonder how many famous people, in the industry now started off on Liquid Television. I should look that up sometime.
Oh, definitely. My gosh. I mean, especially knowing that, Beavis and Butthead was just that little Frog Baseball short.
Yeah, they were really short. It was like, I think at most maybe 3.5 minutes. And it was very, very crude. But, the show itself was not exactly like a huge step up. Especially in those first couple seasons. The animation was very, very cheap. It was very short. If you took the music videos out of Beavis and Butthead, which someone has done, and put them on YouTube. Actually, I think if you even buy it on DVD, you don't get the music videos because it costs so much to get those rights. Whereas at the time, MTV had those rights, so they didn't have to worry about it, and they could air it. It was more like a filler. Beavis and Butthead was more of a filler. It was like a rapping sequences, like the way Mystery Science Theater 3000 is with the movie.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it was a way to sell videos, but in a different way.
Right. Oh, but God, no. That just honestly, knowing that, I don't think I could actually buy the actual collection set. I'm like, one of the points, one of the best things.
You need those videos because that's part of the fun is them playing off. Those.
Exactly. I loved like all their commentary, all the shit they would talk about.
Yeah.
Like, or when Cinderella would play "Melt My Heart." Oh my God.
Winger.
Oh man.
Winger sucks.
Cheech and Chong. More like Schleech and Schlong.
And of course, the show would get a bigger budget as it would go on. But this was a phenomenon. This was the South Park kind of effect, where Beavis and Butthead just premiered one day as a regular show. And I'm telling you, within 6 months, there's merch everywhere. Everybody knows Beavis and Butthead. Everybody can do their shitty impersonations like I just did. Everybody knows Beavis and Butthead, and it got into a lot of controversy because it was airing at 6 p.m. at night, and they thought it was too violent. And I'm like, look at it now going, what?
The fuck?
Right? They had to move it to 10 o'clock at night in order to get out of trouble with the FCC. Some of the episodes were straight up banned. They actually took some of those episodes off the air and never showed them again until they came out on disc.
Oh man, no! What the fuck was so violent about it?
I know. I'm curious. I'm trying to remember.
Baseball short, but
well, I think if I remember correctly, there was an incident where someone burned their couch and got severely injured based on a joke in Beavis and Butthead because they were trying to imitate the show, and that's why I think at the beginning of season 3, when they moved it to 10 o'clock, they put a warning on it that said,
Beavis and Butthead are not real. They are stupid cartoon people completely made up by this Texas guy who we hardly even know. Beavis and Butthead are dumb, crude, thoughtless, ugly, sexist, self-destructive fools. But for some reason, the little wiener heads make us laugh.
That is not the warning that I remember. There was also one I know they did for The State, where they made a parody of it. By the way, have you seen the guy who does makeup? He tries to take cartoon characters and makes them look like they do in real life. And it's the stuff of friggin' nightmares. Someone did a real life Beavis and Butthead, and it's horrifying.
Oh God, I will have to look this up soon. I mean, I've seen them do like these actual drawings of like Popeye and like how detailed and disgusting they looked.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. Here's a real disclaimer.
Beavis and Butthead are not role models, not even human. They're cartoons. Some of the things they do would cause a person to get hurt, expelled, arrested, possibly deported. To put it another way, don't try this at home.
That's the warning that I know.
There it is. Yeah, I remember the first one though, for sure. But again, I like how you can definitely tell in like Mike Judge's cartoons, there's always like this, kind of southern white trash vibe to it. Not as overdone like a Rob Zombie movie, but still.
Yeah, which is funny. I was about to mention that is there's one band that became famous because of Beavis and Butthead, and it was White Zombie.
Oh yeah, that was one of them. Oh yeah, that's right. Thunder Kiss '65. That was one they were talking about. Yeah,
it wasn't getting any play. I think at most it showed up a couple times on Headbangers Ball. Excuse me, Headbangers Ball. Do you know what Headbangers Ball is?
Yes, that's like where the big old. That's where all the metalheads and rock and roll people like get together for this big old concert.
Nope.
It's for that.
Nope.
I thought it was.
No, Headbangers Ball was a show. I want to say Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday nights on MTV. It usually started around 10. And it was 2 or 3 hours, and it was hosted by Ricky Rackman, man. He was like the metal guy. And I started watching it during the transition years from the hair metal guys. They were showing Poison, which it wasn't metal to me, really. It was just party rock. And then, before LMFAO started saying party rock. And then in 92, everything switched to grunge. And then in 93, things started getting more eclectic, and that's when White Zombie broke out. And as far as I know, they're the only band. I think they were saying they had sold 25,000 copies of their first album before they premiered on Beavis and Butthead, and afterwards they immediately shot to 250,000 and just kept building and building from there. And if there is a band that's noteworthy from that time period that stands out from grunge and metal, they're like their own thing. They're like them and Primus and Guar are like almost like carnivals. They're rock bands, but there's something totally different. I feel like an event is coming out of it. They're like the dark version of like Devo. They're a concept band, but they got their own certain particular look and sound that nobody else has.
Well, definitely White Zombie and Guar were definitely more like monster metal.
Yeah.
Like Lordy.
Well, there's also the darker stuff like Ozzy and Wasp.
Oh, yes.
Who's the ones that... dang it. Motorhead. Those guys are really like... They weren't even They weren't thrash. They were just like this dark, crunchy, pessimistic rock.
Oh, yeah. No, Feed the Gods was a good track by White Zombie as well, and that was on the movie Airheads.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Beavis and Butthead were featured in Airheads when they were called into the radio station and they told Brendan Fraser and his band that they sucked. The Lone Rangers?
The Lone Rangers? That's a terrible name. I love it when Joe Mantegna's like, wait, there's 3 of you.
You're not exactly lone.
I love that movie.
Oh, man. Yeah, no. So, yeah, that's... I think...
I got it right here.
White Zombie getting...
I got it right here. The Beavis and Butthead clip from Airheads. These guys were a phenomenon. They were massive.
Feedback here. You're on the air.
Whoa. Am I on the air? Come on, buddy. Give me a phone.
Am I speaking English? What did I just say, dipshit?
Come on, buddy. No way. Shut up, Beavis.
So what do you guys want?
You guys are like the Lone Rangers, right? We saw you guys at the Wheel Well last month. You suck. Yeah.
Hey, come down here and say that, you punk.
Yeah, it's straight. You kiss my ass.
Hey, why don't you guys make all the chicks get naked? Yeah.
Look crap a retard.
Hey guys, you're on TV.
So this Beavis and Butthead is a show that clearly is of a certain era. You got to kind of give that grain, like, oh, okay, that's right. That's back when that was still on regular television. Like today, it would never in a million years last.
Oh, no, sadly. I mean, they did bring it back, in 2011, and I recorded every episode.
Really? I didn't. I heard it came back, but I thought it was earlier than that. Well, here's the thing is the show seems to come and go. Okay, so the show was going strong, and it ended in 95, I think early 96. And then they did the movie. By the way, I've only ever seen one movie on the very first day it was released, and it was Beavis and Butthead Do America. Usually I wait a little bit, or I've seen stuff on the second and third day, like the Scream movies. You had to see those immediately. But the only movie I've ever seen on the very first opening day was Beavis and Butthead Do America.
My God, did it not disappoint.
It's short as hell, though. I was watching it last night, and I looked at the time, and it was 70 minutes. I'm like, hold on, is that even a movie? If you take the credits out of it, it's 70 minutes. I'm not sure that counts. Can I get half my money back?
Sadly, I know. It being an animated movie, it's especially... Yeah, hand-drawn animated movies just aren't that long.
No. And I think it was a rush job. Plus, they knew that the audience probably has very little. There's not a lot of substance to Beavis and Butthead Do America. I mean, it's a road trip movie, which I love road trip movies because they're like vignettes. It's not like one long story. It's broken up by different adventures. I mean, they're looking for the television. They go on a road trip by accident, and they end up helping out this lady try to murder her husband or something like that. I only got about halfway through it this time. I literally have not seen it since I saw it in theaters. That's the weirdest thing is I was so excited to see it, and I thought it was a good movie. I haven't seen it in 20-something years.
Well, I definitely recommend watching it again. Plus, she's not trying to kill her husband. Basically, she's skimping out on her husband. She has this microchip that can release a deadly chemical weapon and could infect the entire United States, including the eastern seaboard. Well, mainly the eastern seaboard, considering they headed to Washington, D.C. She ended up putting it hiding it in Beavis's or Butthead's pants. And she's told them she'd meet up with them in D.C., and of course she got them to go because she's told them, she promised them sex, which wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what Beavis and Butthead's main motivation.
That's their main motivation in everything. Seems to be either TV, nachos, or getting laid, and they rarely ever got any attention from women. And it's usually Daria who was like, "Could you guys just shut the hell up?" That's the most attention they ever got was Daria just going, "You guys are dorks, shut up."
Pretty much, exactly. That's what it was.
Now Daria is a completely different creature. That show. Okay, so Beavis and Butthead, you can only take like so much of. It's kind of repetitive. It's low budget. It's cheap. There's some serious money in Daria and great plots. And I'm pretty sure the company that did the animation for that did the animation for my favorite cartoon, Mission Hill. If you look at the two, they look very similar. But
oh, definitely. That's what
I was convinced for years that Janine Garofalo did the voice of Daria, and I'm completely wrong.
No, yeah, it definitely is. If Janine Garofalo were to have a daughter, it would be Daria. Not gonna lie.
Her droll sense of humor. Those plots are really intricate and smart, and it's a shame that nobody really remembers Daria. And I think it was only on for 3 seasons, maybe.
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah. I mean, I knew Daria because she spun off from Beavis and Butthead. She did move. She did mention they do mention Highland in the first episode. So, it's definitely that same character.
Yeah.
However, God, there was one speech in particular, like in a big, huge assembly, and, talking about, kids when they're graduating and this and that, and she gives her criticism. My God, was she on point. She spoke to every teenager's soul.
Okay, so she is the character everybody should be. Beavis and Butthead sadly represent what a lot of people are. A lot of people. A lot of people who knew how to vote, apparently, in 2016, and voted in a certain direction that I don't agree with.
And did a lot of dumb shit as children.
Yeah.
Let's just say it. White trash.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely low. They're heshers, man. They're not white trash necessarily. I grew up in so when I was a kid, we lived in the city, so it was a mixture of everybody. But then I went to Huntington, Indiana, and you really only had like 2 groups of people. You had I should say 3. The farm kids, the ones that were all bussed into the city school. You had the church people, basically, and then you had like the heshers. The guys who were always skipping school. If they made it to even 10th grade, you were shocked. They had the mullets. They always had like the fucking Iron Maiden shirts on. Terrible skin, and they always had that baby's first mustache, like the 10 dark hairs, and they think they're like, I'm a man now, man, and they're always wearing like cut off t-shirts showing like the 5 pathetic, like, I got chest hair and arm hair, I'm a man, I got a little bit of pectoral muscles going on here, and like, no, just stop it, please. And then you find them 10 years later, they're working at a gas station, and that is like, they're happy with working at the gas station. Like, man, I got my Camaro out there. I got some sweet Beastie Boys. Their only good album was License to Ill. After that, they went all like to shit. And you're like, no, that's when they got better. Shut up. Stop listening to License to Ill. Brass Monkey is not their best song.
No, it fucking isn't.
They got a bumper sticker that says, don't tread on me. That's why I had to leave Indiana, because those people were everywhere. And the successful, nice ones moved on. They left Huntington. It's hardly anybody left there that was strong. Physically, mentally, I guess. I don't know.
I tell you, when I looked at those kids, now I know why tigers eat their young,
Yeah, it's just, that's with my tongue. I don't think you had to deal with it. You probably had to deal with kids who were like into Limp Bizkit and fucking Korn and shit like that. White guys
Korn was still pretty kick-ass.
What?
I mean, Korn was still pretty cool, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't know, but you say Limp Bizkit. If you say Limp Bizkit's cool, we're done. We're fucking out.
Oh God! Don't even get me. Fucking, I can't believe
At least
like
Korn had a message they were trying to represent,
Oh yeah, but anyway, oh God, no.
Speaking of animation, real quickly,
or such the kids.
It's not on the list, but we could do a whole episode where we do commentary for videos that were animated. I mean, there's a lot of great animated videos out there.
Oh yeah. Oh shit! Just Interstellar 555, like Daft Punk's, entire Discovery album.
Yeah, well, there's Matthew Sweet's Girlfriend, which is anime. There is Take on Me by Aha. There's I Want My MTV by Dire Straits. And one of the biggest animated videos of all time is Beavis and Butthead Roller Coaster by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Red Hot Chili Peppers. Oh, fuck yeah.
They're covering the old Funkadelic song.
Oh, yes. Let's see. Oh, gosh. Linkin Park, Breaking the Habit.
Right. Oh, the remix one where it's all like the robots fighting each other. I love that. The Beck one?
Actually, no, not that one. I was talking about the original one. I didn't know there was a remix one of robots fighting, but now that you mentioned that, I have to see robots fight!
Well, maybe I have the wrong video, but I know there's Authority or something. I have to look it up. Points of Authority maybe is what I'm thinking of. I'll look it up. But Lincoln, that's a whole thing. There's like a whole genre of animated stuff. There's the old Tool videos where they're the stop motion animation.
Oh, U2, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. Their song from the Batman Forever soundtrack.
Oh, okay, because I was thinking that sounds like a U2 song. Okay.
Yeah, no, it is.
Oh,
U2's.
It is? That was animated?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Dude, check out the video when you get the chance. Dude, dude, I fucking loved it.
Guilty pleasure is Backstreet Boys Larger Than Life with the spaceships. There's tons of animated spaceships. Like, it's like Lord of the Rings. Or not Lord of the Rings. Why did I say that? Last Starfighter.
Lost in Space.
Yeah, stuff like that. Okay, so after Daria and Beavis and Butthead came to their end, Beavis and Butthead did come back a couple more times, but in very limited runs. By then, Mike Judge had moved on to King of the Hill, a show that was on for like 15 years, and I just don't get the appeal. I think you have to be of a certain mindset. It's funny in its dryness, but I saw one episode and I was good for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah, I've seen quite a few episodes. Oh god, Pamela Adlon won she won a Emmy, I believe, for her voice performance as little Bobby Hill, her son.
Then there's who's the lady who died? I forgot. She died really young. She was from I'll Never Tell. Don't say a word.
Brittany Murphy.
Brittany Murphy, yeah, she was a regular on there. Stephen Root was on there. It had a lot of really good. The budget was clearly higher, but the animation just so fucking ugly. It's so ugly. And how is Hank Hill not the same old guy in Beavis and Butthead? Is that like his brother, like his older brother? Is that his dad? Because they even talk about selling propane. He talks about propane sales, and that's not Hank Hill.
No, it's him. Really? No, it's been confirmed. Yeah, no, it's him.
Okay, because he looks different in the Beavis and Butthead.
Well, it was pretty Beavis and Butthead.
Well, Hank Hill looks about 45 in King of the Hill, whereas he looks about 65, 70 in Beavis and Butthead. So I was wondering if it was supposed to be his dad or something or uncle.
Oh no, it's definitely me, all right. Back in my younger days.
The other thing is he did The Good Family, which is very short-lived. I think it was like 10 episodes on Fox. Streaming on Amazon, I thought it was hilarious. It's not as iconic as some of his other stuff, but it's just about this like really pretentious hippie family who is their bullshit is so tiresome, but it's so ridiculous that you can't help laugh.
I know, I couldn't. I'm like, what the fuck? No. They make it act like people like that is a huge common thing of how those fucking pretentious people are, or the people who are a little more health conscious or choose to be vegan or vegetarian.
The concept isn't, but how they treat it is what's silly, because they take it to like the absolute ultimate extreme. You're like, whoa, back off a little bit here.
I know. I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's like, now I don't want to be vegan. Sorry.
Yeah, we're going a little heavy on this one. I mean, I've done it too, but we need to back off a little bit.
My bad.
That's all right.
My bad saying my bad, even. That's bad.
So, the movies have been his primary focus, and Silicon Valley, of course, is a fantastic show he does for HBO. But the movies have the same kind of oddball humor. He has a very particular taste, and it's basically mocking the everyday blandness of life or the stupidity of life. If you watch, like, Office Space, it's a mundane, like, just TP load letter. What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, or oh god, someone's like, you got a case of the Mondays. Oh,
we had a lady where I worked who would repeat the same thing over and over and over at the front desk where she would greet everybody, and my desk was like just across the way, so I could hear her say it every single time, and I was losing my mind. She couldn't just say hello, thank you, whatever. She was like, have a wonderful wet Wednesday, have a thrilling Thursday, but she would say it 150 times, like right in a row, and it would dig into your brain, and I just kept thinking of the Office Space part where he's just sitting at his desk, like, hello, thank you for calling so-and-so, it's just like over and over.
I have the memo. Oh, gotcha. Then came what's that one he does with Jason? No, wait, no. Idiocracy came after that.
Right. Well, Office Space was a bomb, but it was critically acclaimed and it found a huge following on video. And then he did Idiocracy like 7 years later. I'm pretty sure Robert Rodriguez helped him do it for a lower budget, like he did the special effects. They're buddies. Mike Judge actually shows up, and I think Spy Kids 2 is one of the supporting characters.
I'll have to look into that. Oh my god, I did not know that.
Yeah, they're both Texas filmmakers. Same thing for Richard Linklater. There's a strong community down in Texas.
Yeah, definitely.
So Idiocracy, the irony of Idiocracy is that Fox didn't think that people were going to get the joke. They didn't think they were smart enough to get Idiocracy, which was the point of Idiocracy, so they dumped it like on 200 screens on Labor Day weekend. And it was a huge flop, lost like $25 million. And then, of course, it found a very strong following on video.
Yeah, because that's when I found it on video, and oh my god, did I get it immediately. Like, oh jeez, that's coming more and more relevant right now. It's scary.
I know, right? Ouch, my balls. I mean, they elected a celebrity, like a full-on. We've had that before with Ronald Reagan, but at least Ronald Reagan was a governor before he became president. Now we got this dipshit in office who's he's a successful businessman. I really respect him. No, you don't. He's not successful. You just like the glamour and the glitz, and you are a sucker. And that's the same thing for President Camacho in Idiocracy. He just says these wildly unproven claims, and whatever pops in his head is now the rule of the land, and very temperamental. And it's just funny. That's the way it became.
Pretty much, yeah. And I mean, except Terry Crews would be awesome. I think he's definitely a more fit president.
Well, if it was Terry Crews playing Terry Crews, and not President Camacho. But of course, this thing is so quotable, way more than even. Okay, so Red Stapler.
It's got electrolytes.
Yeah, it's like there's certain stuff in Office Space which kill. Okay, so I was in a meeting once, and they were handing out papers to everybody, and I didn't get a memo, and I just said, I feel like, oh crap, what's the guy's name? The nerdy guy with the glasses.
Milton.
Well, speaking of, I forgot that he did Milton cartoons for Saturday Night Live during the mid-90s.
Whoa!
Did you know that?
What?
Milton, the idea for Milton in Office Space started off on Saturday Night Live because he did like 4 or 5 of them for SNL during those dry years, like the 94, 95, 95, 96 years when they were like suffering.
Oh.
And,
wow.
But I said, I feel like Milton not getting the last piece of cake. And my friend Andrew was cracking up so hard, and no one else knew what the hell we're talking about. And I was like, it's these special moments. That's why we get along.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Okay, no, Kariga Dagash, they're Indian. I can't remember if he was Indian or Arabic.
Oh, the guy from Bad Santa.
Yes.
You ass clown.
Yeah, no, that guy straight up. Whenever he gets so pissed off at the printer, and then how everyone's trying to pronounce his name, he's like, "Yep, I get it." He takes his paper. He knows it's.
Well, what about the Michael Bolton? He goes, I don't want to be associated with that no talent ass hat.
or no, better yet, when they're in the bar, fucking oh crap, what's the main actor's name? When he tells them that they're getting fired, and he's just like, yeah, that's who it is. And he's telling them in the bar, after they're getting fired, he's like, God, cock gobblers.
There's so many things in that movie. The jump to conclusions game. The I want to show my O face. Oh. Oh no. Oh, better yet, I could set the building on fire. Lombard. An idiot. She's sleeping with Lombard.
Oh my God. He is all that is unholy and evil.
What would you do with
Jennifer Aniston? Oh my God.
Yeah, what would you do with $1 million? 2 chicks at the same time.
Man like me ain't got much. He got Diedrich Bader. Oh God, he killed me. Don't worry, man. I'm not gonna tell your guys' plan. He hears them through the wall when they tell him they're gonna rip off the company, like Richard Pryor did in Superman 3.
But Idiocracy is like this huge idea, which is so relevant to today. But I do feel like Luke Wilson, like I'm just barely above average, like I'm just eking my way through the day. But in the wrong circumstances, I feel like the smartest man in the room on a regular basis. This is how I am at work a lot, where I just feel like I'm talking to the customers going, you don't know what a DVD is? You don't know. I understand if you don't know what it means, digital versatile disc. I get that. But you don't know what they do? What? No. Yeah. No, we do not carry cassettes anymore. Why? Because they're obsolete. They've been obsolete for 20 years. What is wrong with you? No, we don't carry VCRs. 2018. What is a Bluetooth? Oh God, what is HD? Are you serious? Like I just keep expecting the customer when I ask them, "Are you finding everything?" It goes, "Shut up! I'm over here baiting, watching out my balls."
Oh gosh, yeah, no, like that's just a very simplified, boring version of Jackass. That's all it is.
Hey, this guy's name is Not Sure. Put this one in your mouth and this one in your butt. Oh wait, hold on a second. Put this one in your this one in your mouth and this one in your butt. No, wait. And he goes, "No, I'm good. Just I don't want to washing my mouth out." This isn't water. What is this? Oh, it's Brondo. It's a thirst mutilator. It's got electrolytes.
Electrolytes are what it needs.
I find myself.
That's what they've been using the water crops.
I find myself on a regular basis going, "I like money."
Freaking Dash Shepherd.
I love the end with the giant dildo on the car that barely runs that's attached to a rock.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. And then the whole time machine thing was just like a little tour of like throughout U.S. history. It was all a bunch of BS. Yeah. And hella fabricated.
Stephen Root as the judge with the Wolverine haircut. It just kills me.
What was the other movie Mike Judge did with Jason Bateman and Ben Affleck?
Extract.
And Mila Kunis.
Extract was supposed to be his big comeback. He was hoping for a hit. He desperately needed one. Problem is, he copied the Office Space motif, but in a different way. It's not a bad movie. It's just nowhere nearly as quotable or as memorable as his previous two. That's why nobody really talks about Extract, but it's still a fine movie. But when you compare it to the previous two, it does seem like a step down.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I do remember. It's because my best friend, one of my best friends, Francisco, when he was talking to me about his certain relationship. Like he was joking about getting me to seduce and sleep his ex-girlfriend so he wouldn't feel guilty about sleeping with someone else.
What?
He was joking about it, of course, but I'm like, but then I told him, I'm like, oh, I don't do that anymore, man. And he just died of laughter. Well, he knew I get the joke. I mean, he's a big movie buff as well.
Okay.
And he really likes Extract. He thought it was really funny.
Yeah, it's the one that they say, there was a time when Miramax it wasn't really part of Disney. It wasn't really part of the Weinsteins. It was kind of on its own. And they did about 6 or 7 movies. And every single one of them was a big flop. And so that's why Miramax really isn't a thing anymore. I know that they are responsible right now for the next Halloween film. They're not making it, but they own the rights. They went to Blumhouse and said, "Hey, can you save this franchise?" And they're like, "Okay, let's have a stab at it," literally and figuratively. So yeah, that's basically the only thing on Miramax's agenda right now is that Halloween film because they have no money. They're on their own. It's weird. Rob Lowe is one of the co-owners of Miramax. Not a lot of people know that, but he was part of a hedge fund that raised, I think they bought it for like $30 million. So they basically own the name and the catalog. And when Dimension Weinstein Company would make a sequel to anything that was part of the Miramax catalog, which they had the first dibs on, they had to split the cost and the box office with Miramax. So like when Scream 4 came out, it was a dual effort. But of course, the Weinsteins are done, rightfully so. Fuck them. They mess up so many movies. Even if there wasn't a sexual thing, they were a plague on filmmaking because they would chop up and destroy movies left and right, or sit on them for years just for a tax write-off. And so everything now, I believe, is with the new owner of the Weinstein Company, and they're going to change the name because you gotta. They fired the Weinsteins. They fired the guy in charge of the studio who looked the other way for all that sexual harassment. Speaking of the Weinstein Company, they did do one great animated movie, and they fucked up the rest, and that was Hoodwinked. I really enjoy Hoodwinked. That first one's great.
Oh, yeah. No, it was. It definitely was. I actually like that, too.
Yeah, the second one...
I mean, I watched it with my little brother and sister.
Yeah, the second one...
No, I actually...
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
The second one's just nowhere nearly as good. They cranked up the budget from $15 million to like $60 million, and it was a huge flop. I think they did Planet 51, the one with Sean William Scott and Dwayne Johnson. They did Delgo. Dougal. They just didn't. They don't know how to make movies. They know how to buy things and fuck it up. They're like. That's the problem with Hollywood is it doesn't seem to be run by creators or people who love movies. It seems to be run by people who are just looking at the numbers, and that's not how you make films. Yes, you still have to make a profit to stay in business, but you should focus first on what do you want to make. What do you want to see? Get people with a vision. And
exactly.
The only company out there that I see that's doing that is A24. A24 is a lower budget company, but they do really smart, unique movies. And my favorite of them is Tusk, but people love Spring Breakers and Ex Machina and stuff like that. Disaster Artist.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. I finally watched that. My God.
Yeah?
It's definitely funny for sure, but oh my God, seriously, James Franco really did a great job as Tommy Wiseau.
Good.
And to know like how that movie was made, I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
This actually happened?
The Room is a crazy film, and I have no idea how it was made, but it's akin to Ed Wood. Ed Wood is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's basically about the making of these truly hideous films, and you see how it was done. You're like, okay, now it makes a lot more sense. And there's a weird lovability and passionate incompetence.
I know, exactly. Because, near the end of the movie, when everybody's watching The Room, everybody's just laughing to death. Like, even the people that were making the movie. But, oh my God, the tension between them and the relationship between Greg Sestero, who wrote the book, The Disaster Artist, and Tommy Wiseau. It's like, geez, these guys are really good friends, but, oh man.
Two different planets. Totally. Two different planets.
Yeah, but of course, and still to this day, people don't even know where Tommy's from, how he's got his millions, how he has all this money. Even in the movie when Seth Rogen's character goes in to cash in a check, like he was expecting it to bounce, but it didn't, and the teller's just like, tell you a little secret, this account is bottomless. I'm like, whoa, but where did he get all that money from? Nobody knows that. Nobody knows his actual age, but where he's from, kind of. It was revealed on, I think it was Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel, when James Franco was on as a guest and they brought in Tommy Wiseau. And Tommy Wiseau admitted he was from Poland, and James Franco was like, what? I didn't even know this. But overall, yeah, no, it's definitely a movie to see. And there's a little bit of a post-credit scene. It's a cool it's a pretty funny cameo.
All right, so I think we've hit the end of our episode. Thank you, everybody, for 4 great years. And stick with us through this final year, and then I really hope you like the new show that we're going to be... my plan is when we get towards the end of Back in Tunes to maybe start dropping an episode here and there of the newer show so you get used to it, and then by the time the transition is complete, you won't miss Back in Tunes as much, and stop listening and get into the new show.
Oh, for sure, definitely. I mean, as far as the name of the title, we can't tell you that yet. Copyright reasons. Nobody's stealing our idea.
No.
Nobody.
No, I feel like every podcast name is taken already. So we're shocked that the one that you suggested hasn't been taken, but we got a backup plan just in case it does. Or, maybe... Yes. I've been asking quietly amongst our friends, and they seem to like the second name better because it doesn't have the connotation of little filthiness, but we're kind of naughty. We're a little naughty.
Oh, yeah. Real freaking naughty.
All right, everybody, check us out on Facebook under Back in Tunes. And Jacob, send us out.
Oh, yep. All right. Hey, Goofy, no. Oh, can I do it just this once? All right, fine. Yep. Namaste and good luck. Be excellent to each other, my friends. Yep. Love it. You still showing up for my birthday,
forever.
Goofy?
Willow forever, baby.
Tunes with your animation archaeologists, Jacob and Michael.
Hey gang, this episode is just me and my friend Jeff. Jacob will be back in probably a couple weeks where we just do the regular Back in Tune show. This is another one of those perfect Saturday morning playlists where someone comes on and they pick what would make their perfect Saturday morning. You can pick any kind of animation, any genre, primetime, daytime, syndicated, and basically just go through, what would make that list. So I have Jeff coming up here real quick. I just want to say thank you to our sponsors, Gimetco.com, Gimetczo, ZCO. Their pop culture art. You want hats, shirts, houseware, stuff like that with pop culture goodies on them, go there. Also, our other sponsor is Zen Monster Media. If you want, comic books, movies, pop culture stuff that's not wearable but readable and watchable, check them out. And thank you very much for supporting us. We're almost to our 4th anniversary, and so Jacob and I will be discussing the animated works of Mike Judge. And hey, thank you for 4 years. We're off to our last and final year, and we're going to spin the show off into something else. We'll still continue talking about animation, but we'll also talk about other nerd culture stuff that we've kind of been, putting off, video games and superhero movies and whatever nerd culture that entertains us. It's not all going to be nerd culture. It's just predominantly. All right, thank you very much, and here comes Jeff. Hey everybody, I got Jeff Calm back here, and he is going to be sitting in. We're going to be discussing our perfect Saturday morning list. Well, his perfect Saturday morning list. I cheated, I already did one. And we will be back next month with the final season, the 5th season of Back in Tunes. But hey Jeff, how's it going?
Great, how are you doing, Michael?
That was a weird, jarring like a skew right back in the other direction. I'm not good at intros or exits, just I'm here, I'm lingering.
Awesome, I don't know, neither am I.
Are you on tour right now?
I am just doing, my typical regional performing in the, Northern California area. So always, Friday, Saturday, you can find me somewhere up here.
Yeah, you need to come up here. Have you ever been up to the Oregon, Portland, Salem area?
I haven't, but I have, but I haven't played up there. But my band has a contingent that does that area.
Oh, okay. And
we're just relegated to Northern California. We only have our little area that we're in charge of.
Gotcha. And that was my casual segue into, hey, what band are you in?
Oh, yes, that's probably important. I'm in a band called the Spasmatics. There may be a Spasmatics near you. You should see them. They could be good. We're nerds we're geeks who play 80s. You got in trouble for saying nerds.
I think that you play a better version of What I Like About You than the original band did. Your stuff's up on YouTube, by the way. Everybody, if you want to check out this amazing cover band, they're more than a cover band, though. You're a mixture of the concept band with cover band, but you elevate. You're not just I've seen so many cover bands that are just regurgitating the song just without their own flavor to it. You don't go off script, really, but you change it in such a way that it makes it yours.
Yeah, definitely. We got our little character thing, and then on top of that, we always try to kind of give it a little bit of a spin, so that it's a little more fun, a little more rockin'.
Yeah. And plus, you have your own stuff. So, your website is
JeffCalmback.com. If you can spell it, good luck.
I'll put a link up with this episode.
Excellent.
All right. So, that was a little bit of warm-up. All right, let's start off our Saturday morning playlist of the best cartoons in your opinion. And did you start your morning off with savory foods or sweet foods?
Usually, I would say usually kind of Swedish stuff. There'd be a lot of... So there are your cereal options, of course, always in play, but a toast with a peanut butter on it or something like that. That was a popular item, or a bagel, that sort. A little bit of both.
I was a hardcore cereal guy. In fact, I never even bacon and eggs. I didn't even eat until my late 20s, early 30s.
That requires multiple steps. It requires, using the stove, which when you're a kid, you're really not supposed to do. Yeah, burning your face off. You could really fuck shit up with that. And a lot of fat from that bacon.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad that I didn't eat it for so long and that I loved oatmeal. I think I'm set for the next decade of eating donuts and hot dogs and garbage, and then my heart should be good until about 50, and then I'm going to have to refocus.
Yeah, then it's angioplasty time.
All right, so what is the very first cartoon that you start off with?
So I went for looking at stuff that was really cool to me back in the day, kind of going chronologically, because it's like thinking back to, I really loved this one, and so I kind of want to start with the childhood ones that I love that I think may on some level kind of hold up. So I start with the ones that were kind of like just long advertisements, like your Centurions.
Ooh, you're deep cuts right there. We still haven't hit that cartoon. I've been bugging Jacob about that. Yeah, that and we had Sectars and Humanoids. Like those are like the trilogy of pure, just short-lived toy.
Humanoids. Yeah, Humanoids was cool too. God, I forgot about that one. But yeah, I mean, guys got suits. There's a lot of mixing. Like he's a guy, but he's a robot, but he's an insect. Or he's
Well, I remember the toys had tons of holes in them, and in the first advertisement they showed on the back of Marvel Comics, they didn't say what you could add on to the suit. They're just guys standing there with holes in their suit, and you're like, what in the hell am I looking at? What does this even mean? And that might be a reason why it bombed.
It might be, but I had some and I thought they were the greatest, man. They were so inventive, if you figured out what they did, I don't know that really translated to the cartoon, but I'd like to pretend it does.
Yeah. I'm going to guess you're probably like an early 80s kid. You were born like 81, 82?
80.
Ah, nice. Yeah, I was 77, so I was still watching them then, but I think I think once Centurions debuted is at the very tail end of my toy collecting, and then I moved on to baseball cards, mostly out of shame from the rest of people my age, a bunch of dickbags, saying, why are you still collecting G.I. Joes, man? Everybody's like into sports. And I'm like, fuck, I'm going to have to sell my stuff off for baseball cards, that's worthless now. There's no this. What do kids even get out of baseball cards? Oh, I looked at it. I'm done. That's it. The stats.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really went down that route. I'm sports illiterate. And that's probably why I stuck with G.I. Joe's long, too. I was, already 12 when I was like, all right, I'm moving on. I figured out I'm doing music.
Yeah.
I skipped sports.
I end up trading all of my toys in and most of my comic books in for baseball cards. And a year later, I'm like, oh, dear God, what have I done?
Yeah, I mean, there's a period where you got to get away from it, and then you come back and you're like, oh, shit, that is what I need.
Yeah.
I wish I still had them, or I wish, now I got to go find some crazy shop somewhere that has old ones and buy it all again.
Yeah, and then hopefully they don't know how much they're worth. It's like in like a bin. But it's like once you get your college tuition bills in, you're like, oh boy, I could use that investment in toys to pay this off.
Yep, exactly. But I mean, any good toy collection should have been played with, and therefore not really keeping its value.
Right. Well, our age group is the last age group to not buy them for reselling purposes. They were, hey, let's just rip this shit open. I mean, I still do that to this day. I don't really see the value in just having it on your shelf.
Exactly. You gotta do stuff with them, or else it takes away the fun.
Yeah. And in the 80s was the perfect era of the toy tie-in. We got this line of toys, we need a comic book, and we need a cartoon. And Centurions is right at that nadir where everything seemed to be geared towards, this is a toy first.
Yeah, and this is just an advertisement for the toy.
And do you think it holds up?
No.
Oh, it's damn.
Not really. What I kind of love about it is that it really takes itself seriously. Like, all right, I'm going to have to go and do this thing because this is important stuff, and then we're going to save the whatever from the whatever, to the point where it's like, yeah, you're just an advertisement.
Yeah.
I think there's a little tongue-in-cheek in the ones that really, kind of get it right.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, by the 90s, though, I think everyone saw that saturation of the dead serious, like G.I. Joe clones.
Right.
You see that attitude through the early 90s where everything was just kind of tongue-in-cheek and parodying what had come before it.
Yeah.
But I'll take any of that 80s stuff over the shitty 70s, like Hanna-Barbera on Fumes bullshit.
Yeah, those are bummer, man. I mean, especially Hanna-Barbera, because, the animation was just as cheap as they could get it. So it wasn't even, good to look at. They're like Sunday morning cartoons, where it's let's run the stuff that no one cares about. And then it's either that or it's the Crystal Cathedral.
What's that?
It was like a church show. It was like a televangelist guy. I forget what his name is, but it's a church in Anaheim. I was over there one day, and I was driving around, and I drive up, and I'm like, holy shit, that's the one from TV. I forget what guy that was, but it's one of those famous televangelist guys, and it's on Sunday mornings it was you got kind of iffy, old, kind of off-brand cartoons, or you're watching televangelists. It's lame.
Yeah, it was a constant repackaging of the same cartoons. They would just take, we're going to add 2 new episodes to this package, and we'll count it as a whole new season. But once the syndication came in, you're starting getting your Monday through Friday cartoons, you could see the heat was on Saturday morning to start creating more material. And that's a great thing. Even though there wasn't a lot of great memorable cartoons from the 80s, at least they were new and they were different styles. Most people seem to think that they all look like G.I. Joe, whereas Marvel Sunbow over in Japanimation. There's a lot of stuff over there that's very unique that I think holds up better than people say. Now, maybe not the storylines, but the animation, yes.
Yeah, going back and watching some of these, some of the animation is just incredible, and I'm surprised that amount of money got put into some of these cartoons that didn't last very long, but that probably explained why they didn't.
Yeah, maybe your tax write-offs. We made too much money on this toy line, so we gotta get something to write off.
Yeah. Let's just give it all to some animators, and we'll keep the IRS off our backs.
All right, sorry. I'm stalling on number 2. What comes after Centurions?
Basically the same thing, but a different package with Silverhawks.
Oh my God, I love Silverhawks. Oh, gee, I love them.
Aren't they great? And one of the things I love about that, and actually Centurions had the same thing, is just an awesome villain. I just love looking at that guy with this fucking weird eye patch thing.
Yeah.
And he just kind of a Mum-Ra ripoff.
Well, there's the trilogy. No one ever remembers the third cartoon from. God, I want to say it was. Who are the guys that did all that stop motion animation? Rudolph, and they also did the Hobbit animated movie. Damn it! What the hell's their name?
Like the Ralph Bakshi guy?
No, there was a Lord of the Rings, but there was a Hobbit TV movie. I can't believe I'm talking about animation, and people are screaming at me right now. How dare you? I'm going to look it up right now because I've forgotten. But the guys who did all those stop motion animation stuff that you always see at Christmas. Oh, Rankin Bass. They did a trilogy, and everybody remembers Thundercats. Everybody remembers Silverhawks. But they also did Tiger Sharks. Tiger Sharks was only 13 episodes.
Oh my
and I obsessed about all 3 of them.
Yeah, I remember the name Tiger Sharks. Thundercats was amazing. I feel like it really watching some of that stuff, like, holy crap, they did such a great job with that animation. And I love the characters, and I think Silverhawks has some of that too, you know?
Yeah, that's the weird thing is that one doesn't get talked about. Everybody talks about Thundercats, and it was only on like a little bit longer. Yeah. Silverhawks was on 65 episodes, really high quality animation, unique looking animation, and I don't hear anybody talk about Silverhawks.
Yeah, it's weird. Kind of has like reminds me a little bit of like BattleTech and stuff like that. In terms of, like, you know, the look of the ships and stuff, and the quality, the way everything moves.
Did you grow up on the West Coast?
BattleTech, Robotech. No, I'm a East Coast guy.
Okay, did you get anime? Because I grew up in Indiana. We didn't get any anime. Like, I never even saw Voltron until about 5 years ago. For some reason, I just never got around to it. But Silverhawks and Thundercats are, like, the closest thing you're going to get to any anime.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, that stuff was kind of around. I mean, I watched Voltron when I was a kid, so we had that. And when I was a teenager, I had friends that were really into anime. So, you know, I came through that. And also, sometimes that stuff would be, like, for rent at the video store. And I would just rent it, not knowing what the hell it was, you know. Just thinking, you know, oh, this is a cartoon. This is kind of cool. And so there was an exposure and an awareness that there was something different with that kind of animation that, you know, is really unique.
Yeah, it's weird that a lot of it was cut up and reconfigured.
Yeah.
You don't realize it's two shows combined and stuff like that, whereas, like, of course, Silverhawks, it was completely created beforehand. There was no translation needed, but it just has that anime look.
Very much so. Which is really cool, you know, to bring that into, you know, an American cartoon. You're not, like, looking at, like, you know, redubbing with weird kind of, you know, that whole thing that's part of the charm of anime, you know, when it is dubbed and how they try to match the flap and all that stuff. You're not looking at that aspect of it, you know. But you do have a guy who has a cowboy hat.
In space.
In space. He's a space cowboy. That was another thing. Because, what was the one, it was like, the Galaxy Cowboys or...
Well, there was a lot of them. There was Brave Star. There was...
Brave Star,
I want to say, like, Silver Sable or something like that. Galaxy Rangers. There's three of them, like, right around the same time as, like, Westerns in outer space.
Why?
I don't know. I want to say it's a mild Star Wars influence because they always treated Han Solo like he was a gunslinger from the Old West, but just happened to be in outer space. Maybe. But until Firefly, there was no space westerns.
Yeah. To me, it just goes like... Because I kind of think that, like, coming up, there was, you know, westerns were what kids were into, and then, like, at a certain point, you know, that changed into space stuff, and like, was it like the guys who were making it from the old time, where like, you know what I loved growing up? Westerns. Kids will love this shit.
Yeah, and with the exception of Lucky Luke and a couple of the Bugs Bunny cartoons, I don't think they ever made a Western animated show or movie.
Yeah, I can't really think of any, because like at that time it was, you know, not as much of a thing, you know.
Plus, you could accomplish it in live action, whereas animation, what the goal was to create stuff that you could not do. Now it's weird. The only thing it seems like animated movies and cartoons are talking animals because it will cost $250 million to do it live action. But it still would be like, yeah. So that's the only thing left, which is kind of heartbreaking because if you're going to bring back Silverhawks, someone's just going to go, well, why don't we just get Michael Bay to do a live action version of it? And then that person is shot and.
Yeah, and if it happened, it would just be like, I don't need to see this. I don't. It's just gonna be wrong.
Yeah.
It'll be an assault on the senses, you know, instead of something that like looks really cool and has like this vibe.
a lot of people forget those cartoons allowed for character development and the story to breathe. If it was an action movie, people are like, well, we spent this much money, we got to have non-stop. Like, oh crap! This is
Yep. It's just like I'm dizzy just having a panic attack, just from, like shit coming at me at the screen, man.
I think we all learned that with Speed Racer, the movie. What a fucking candy-coated nightmare that was.
Yeah. I can barely go to the theaters anymore because it's just like I get just so overwhelmed. I'm such a wuss. I can't even like watch a movie with getting just like completely like assaulted, sensory assault.
Yeah, you'll probably hate those 4D. It's like the new ones where they have smells and your chair moves, and I'll be just like barfing the whole time.
No, none of that. The things that the rides where it's like it's a movie but the theater moves and stuff, I can't do that shit.
No. Well, the last movie I saw in the theater was Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's a sequence where they're kind of spinning in space around something, and I was just like, nope, look away, here comes vertigo, I can't, no.
Yeah, man. It's like people feel gypped if they don't get that experience,
Yeah.
Because it's like everyone can just see movies at home, and they're like trying to figure out what can we do that you can't do at home. We can give everyone vertigo.
Yeah, it just I have my own projector. It cost me like a little over $200. I have a 90-inch screen and a projector. It's just like I'll wait till it's on video. I'm good.
Exactly.
So
I don't even have to put on pants.
Yeah, but I end up watching like a lot of YouTube videos where it's just a guy talking into a camera. I'm like, why did I get this again? I should be watching. I'm dumb.
I could see every hair in that guy's nostril, though.
What is the third thing on your list?
Okay, so this is the third in the trilogy of toys as cartoons as toys, and I went with Mask.
Oh, that is the one I can't get into, and I know every person I've ever mentioned this to is like, that's the most amazing thing. I'm like, yeah, but that robot, that talking cute robot, that's the fucking bane of my existence in a lot of cartoons. There's always a cutesy character.
Yeah.
What's the one from Masters? The Orko. There's Orko and there's Cringer.
Right, sure.
What's the one from Thundercats?
Yep.
Snarf?
Snarf,
yeah. Those characters drive up the wall. But Mask is a cool idea, but I'm like, get rid of that character. Just dump him. Edit him out.
That's one where I was looking up when I was like revisiting stuff for this. I didn't actually like watch much of it, so I was like, yeah, I should go back and see if these hold up. I didn't really check on that one. I should.
Yeah, it's being reintroduced. Hasbro has it added to this big mega universe with all these toys, and they've done it in the comic books where Mask is now a division of G.I. Joe, where they've taken Transformers technology to build their ships.
Interesting. I don't know. How's that going to work out?
I don't know. Right now universes are kind of frowned on. Like we went from every company desperate for a universe, and then last year after the Mummy tanked and DC's not really working, everybody's like, I don't know about this universe thing now.
Yeah, okay. I can see that. I don't know. I feel like it'll just be something where whatever magic it had will be just tainted magic. Magic taint. It'll be a magical taint.
No, magical taint for your, buy it for your kids. No, don't sell this to. No, they sell poop. There's so many poop toys now. I can't imagine we're right around the corner from a taint game.
Taint the game. It'll be like lawn darts or something.
Yeah.
You gotta.
And it'll be someone desperate for money promoting it. It's like, hey, it's Stephen Baldwin here for Taint the Game. You don't think I'm a big piece of shit enough? Here we go.
It's like a pair of underwear with a giant target on the bottom.
Oh, boy.
And you lie in the backyard with your legs in the air, and people throw Nerf balls at you, trying to get them to stick.
That's totally going to be a thing. You know that. You just know it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I want points on the back end.
Well, speaking of back end.
Hey, yeah!
Zinger! The Mask. I had one toy from the Mask. I had the purple motorcycle. I want to say that it popped up into a helicopter.
That seems like a thing.
I might be combining two toys there.
Thing.
Yeah.
Maybe, who knows? I had a couple, and I really liked them. I thought they were very unique and imaginative and inventive. And I also liked. I had like the pickup truck where you like pull it up and it has like kind of comes apart and has guns and stuff. And I had like a semi where you pull up the back part of the semi and it's like a giant rocket. And what I loved about them is that they function kind of both ways in that, like, you know, okay, it could be this thing that exists in the mask world and has its transformative properties and, you know, crazy guns and shit. But they also worked on the level of, oh, this is just a cool truck toy, you know?
Yeah.
I'm playing with something I like, I need a pickup truck. This pickup truck functions great, you know? And so I really like that part about it.
I wonder if Kenner was always on edge, making sure they didn't get too close to something that Hasbro was making. It's like, don't sue us. It doesn't look just like Optimus Prime. We got to change it. You know, back when Kenner was a thing.
No doubt. I have no doubt that there was a very contentious relationship with that. I'm sure they were watching each other very closely. You know.
Yeah, I had the GoBots because we were poor. And that was always a sign if you were poor. So it went GoBots, Mask, Transformers. And I really couldn't afford the top two. I had a couple Transformers, but it was always like the little ones. But I had tons of GoBots. And I just remember like being like, oh, that's right. We're not well off. I have the third-rate Transformer.
But I mean, there's just something cool about them too, you know? That's the thing, is like, they still do stuff and like... You know, I get that they're not as fancy, but I don't know. It's just another, to me, it was just like another thing to kind of spark your imagination when you're playing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to guess the percentage of broken GoBots compared to broken Transformers, because you can't figure it out correctly, much lower. I bet you GoBots like pop, pop, pop. Oh, I'm done.
Right.
Cool. I didn't shatter.
Yeah. There are definitely some Transformers that are like, what the hell is going on here? I think I may need to get a PhD to figure this one out.
Yeah. And it never looked like the way, like, the toy never looked like the cartoon. And you're just like, hey, how did they even get this from this? Whereas all the rest of the toys, you know, Mask, it looked exactly the same. GoBots looked exactly the same.
Right. And then, you know what always kind of weirded me out in terms of Transformers was how, who's the main bad guy?
Megatron?
Megatron. So, how can he be this giant robot and then he changes to a much smaller gun? There is such a scale issue with that.
Literally about to ask you the same exact thing, because him and Shockwave are both guns, but they're bigger than everybody else. And I'm like, how does that work? How is Bumblebee half the size of Megatron?
And then, like, when you change, it's like, if you know, Starscream isn't around to pick you up and shoot at people with you, you're pretty much just lying there like a, you know, hey, I turned into a hammer.
I am useless at the moment. I might misfire. That's about it.
Yeah, but again, the toy, when it changed into that Luger, was fucking cool as shit.
My favorite was Blaster, turning into a little boombox.
Yep. That one was awesome.
Well, you know,
no function in the battlefield whatsoever.
No. Hey, we can have a rockin' soundtrack while we're kicking each other's ass.
Yeah, very, very pre-Walkman 80s, like, to have a ghetto blaster, but then to be a ghetto blaster.
It's the only one that's of its era. Like, this was popular at that time, and they made a toy out of it. Like, no one made a Transformer of parachute pants. The Reebok pump.
What would they? That would be pretty sweet if your shoes turned into a dude.
That would be weird. Yeah, it would be complicated, constantly breaking it every time you step on it.
Yeah. Ah!
The Galvatron, when they changed him for the Transformers movie, it's like it was necessary. It was like, well, the gun thing. Everybody's questioning us about the gun thing. What are we going to do about this? Well, kill him off and have him reborn as a cannon. That's much better.
Yep. That was definitely like a practical solution and hey, we can resell this same character now as something else.
Yeah.
Sweet.
What is number 4?
Rodimus Prime.
Oh, wait, hold on. I want to go back to that. Is Transformers on your list? Because if it isn't, we've just added another one. Because clearly there's some...
Pretty much. I mean, it might as well be. I mean, I didn't really... I mean, I was definitely huge Transformers and Thundercats, but I figure everyone is. So
yeah,
it's like,
you get some more obscure stuff that no one else is talking about.
Yeah, I kind of like... Wouldn't you want to hear about stuff that, like, wasn't universal?
Right. This is the 12th episode of Perfect Saturday Morning that we've done, and if I have to hear Batman the Animated Series one more time, I'm going to quit. I know, it was amazing. It's one of the best things ever, and I'm just like, all right,
I was a little older at that point, and I just kind of like, I don't know, I had trouble with that one, which is weird because I know people love it, and Mark Hamill is so amazing, and the Batman guy is so famous for doing that and stuff, and I don't know, that style, that animation style just never spoke to me.
Yeah.
So I just didn't.
Yeah, it's in my top 5, but I'm just exhausted from talking about it. Where number 4, right?
Yeah. The Tick.
Spoon.
That didn't that should have lasted way longer. That was such an amazing show, and they captured the humor just so. You know, it's like perfect example of the adding the wit, having the character who's dumb but charming. You know, they just nailed the mood.
Yeah, and basically you are Arthur. I mean, Arthur personifies who we are,
right.
but we want to be the Tick. It's kind of like the Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck rule. We are all Daffy Duck. We want to be Bugs Bunny. And we kind of like, for that brief moment, we live through, the Tick. We want to be that boisterous, happy, nothing can stop us.
That's a good psychological evaluation of that cartoon. Because having the guy who's a normal guy in a funny suit, it's so relatable. It's such an in personally. It's like, I'm a regular guy. But, maybe if I put on some wings, I can hang out with a giant be-muscled. I don't know. That sentence just fell apart.
I make up words all the time. I have my own dictionary, apparently.
So, and that's a cool show when, came along in a time when I was like starting to get older, have a more sophisticated sense of humor and everything. It definitely spoke to that. It was wacky but also a little smart, a little more cerebral.
Yeah, and that guy, Ben Edlund, the guy who created it, he's still going strong in television. I mean, he did work with Joss Whedon, and he's doing the show on... I don't like the show on Amazon. It's dark, and it's weird, and I don't feel it's necessary. And it kind of goes against what the original comic book was about.
Right.
Where the cartoon is almost synonymous with the attitude of the comic. The one with Patrick Warburton... It was Seinfeld flavored, but it still had that spirit of the comic. This new one, it
really did.
It feels like a mental patient, like it's a dark horror show. It's like I'm not laughing. This isn't entertaining.
Yeah, well, it's always the superhero reboot. Now we're gonna make it dark and edgy.
Ugh, that was what plagued the '90s, man. Every Marvel comic hero all of a sudden had 400 pockets and shotguns. You're like, no, why? What?
Yeah. Like, what about the fantasy of it all? What about does everything have to be this practical military thing?
Right. It's gritty and real.
Yeah, if I wanted gritty and real, I would go down the street where things are real and they're gritty, Why don't we make it, entertaining? I think the Patrick Warburton one kind of definitely tapped into what the cartoon, the comic were getting at, that the mood. I think that's the important thing. The mood was there, which is pretty incredible considering like that's a big jump from animated show to live action, to I feel like a lot of things just get lost in that, you know, and I think a pretty impressive job considering.
Yeah, and they had to ditch a couple things. I mean, one of the biggest villains in the cartoon was Chair-Faced Chippendale, which I say more often than I would think I would in my life. I joke about that name all the time, but you can't do that in a television show. And then they had to change, Deflator Mouse to Batman Well, because no one knew what the hell Deflator Mouse was.
That's right, Batman Well. That's too bad, too, because that's a great joke.
Well, there goes my pen. What is After the Tick?
Okay. One of my favorite cartoons of all time that I really feel like did not get the attention it deserved was the Pirates of Dark Water. And that was that show looked unbelievable. You know, the animation there is just so beautiful and sophisticated, and had a little bit of the kind of Yes album cover kind of art look meets I don't know, some other crazy fantasy stuff. It had this great fantasy look to it. The villain was fucking brutal looking and had his skeleton pirate ship, and I like the weird words they use, like chungalungo and shit. I was so into that.
Yeah, this is when Hanna-Barbera, they decided to stop phoning it in. They completely overhauled their whole animated style, and I think actually they kind of stepped away and let someone else take over, because the 90s, there's only a few cartoons done by them in the 90s, and they have a whole different feel. But Pirates of the Dark Water is probably the best of those.
It really should have gotten more attention, and I think at a certain point they're like, this is too expensive. We gotta make this crappier so that we can afford it. And I don't know why it didn't take off. It was just so well done.
And the funny thing is, it left on a cliffhanger. I didn't know this because we reviewed this, I think, 2.5 years ago for the show. And I got to the end and I'm like, no. There has to be another episode. And Jacob's like, no, they left it on a cliffhanger. I was like, you son of a bitch. Why are you playing with me?
Yeah. And I remember being so disappointed because I was completely invested. I just became obsessed. I was like, this is fucking cool. I get this. And also, I got some of the toys too, and they were so well done. They were such cool detail. Just like the main couple of characters. I always loved that character who had long hair and a million weird ponytails and odd beards. It's kind of like some of the what were the guys in G.I. Joe that were
Dreadnoughts?
Yeah, the Dreadnoughts. There's always the dude who had why are there braids coming off of his face and stuff, and he's got one giant earring. He's kind of apart. I like that thing, That's always the character that I'm into that.
This is crazy.
Unnecessary ponytails.
I'm looking at this right now. The guy who created Pirates of Dark Water is also responsible for creating Chucky.
Really?
Yeah, he's the main producer on this. It's so wildly different.
That is very interesting. There's a lot of talent behind Chucky.
No kidding, Tom Holland.
Is that the voice guy? The voice guy, he's fucking Doc from Deadwood.
Oh no, Tom Holland or Todd Holland. He directed Fright Night, and then he did Child's Play, and then Thinner and stuff like that. Yep. The Pirates of Dark Water is that change in animation because everything seemed to be toy-based first, but it seemed like they really took their time and created the story first, and then went out to the toy companies and did a toy line instead of vice versa.
Yeah, and like I said, the toys came out beautifully. They were beautiful. That's the thing is that everything looked gorgeous on that show, and here's the other thing. The story wasn't just, here's some bad guys and then these good guys come along and they're half robot, half dude, and there you go, give us money. It actually, there was a little more depth to it. There's this world that's made up and it's all fantasy, and then there's this weird magical thing making all the water shitty. And I wonder if maybe there was like a, kind of environmental subtext to that. I'm sure there is. And, we got to get this power so that we can clean that up. But then weird fat eye patch bad guy wants the power too. And it seemed like it wasn't completely derivative.
Well, that and the story progressed. It wasn't just battle, battle, battle. Everything is exactly the same as it was at the beginning of the episode. Pirates of Dark Water kept moving the story forward.
Oh, a serial-like.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever meant to go, more than a couple seasons, maybe 3 seasons at most. It does seem like it was the kind of thing that's like, well, we got this beginning and end already planned. We're not going to keep, just dishing out episodes until kids stop watching. We have a goal.
Right, which they never got to.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. Number 6.
It totally is. Okay. This is basically kind of where I ran out of stuff, but my favorite cartoon of all time at this point, that I saved to the end, would be BoJack Horseman. As contemporary as it is, I'm obsessed. I am totally obsessed. I've watched the whole thing multiple times. One thing that I love about it, that I love about shows in general, that I found, I don't seek out, but when I find it, for some reason, I just gravitate toward it, are the shows that make fun of the inner workings of Hollywood and show business. Something about that always attracts me. So, I just watched episodes, this one with
LeBlanc.
LeBlanc. Same kind of vibe where it's it's all just, it's a fish out of water story. These British people aren't used to Hollywood. Makes fun of Hollywood. Easy. There's some other show. What was the other show I was thinking of that does
There's
that?
Larry Sanders.
That's the other one. I love Larry Sanders. That show is just genius and beginning to end. An amazing show, but also is so about the inner workings of Hollywood. And one thing that the creator of BoJack was saying is that he wasn't totally sure when he was pitching it, that it would go, because producers and people, involved in show business don't always like to be the butt of the joke, and so he was surprised that they went with it. But I personally find that just both fascinating and hilarious. And then this, the show just has so many layers. It's it's got that, but then it's got all the ridiculous animal jokes and the hidden jokes in the background. Everything's got a funny name. There's so many just wordplay jokes. And of course, who doesn't love Will Arnett and all the guest people? The real Hollywood references, they're at the Griffith Observatory, they're at Halloween Town in Burbank, they're going to all these places oh, I know where that is. Oh, okay, they're supposed to be, I get it. All right. The whole arc where they're making fun of Scientology by making fun of improv was pretty cool. And the fact that whatever UCB or whichever one is right next to the Scientology center, they just completely focused in on that. That was so brilliant. And then the fact that in that perfect Wes Anderson way can manage to be funny and touching and sad without being too touching and sad that you feel actual feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it does drama in a way that I actually feel it, but I don't feel annoyed that I feel it. It's not like a very special episode where you're this is weird and stupid.
Right, they're manipulating you. This is actual not force. It just out of the plot. This truth comes out.
Yeah. You feel more I sympathize with the character. I'm experiencing their feeling rather than feel God, this is so contrived and embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like a Mike Seaver moment.
Oh God. Okay. This is off topic, but I just watched Like Father, Like Son. Apparently, when the nation was obsessed with body swapping movies for 2 years, and I was like, "Oh, that's right. That's what happened to him before he was a dick. Like he used to be fun, and now he sucks."
And likable.
Yeah, and
he was an American treasure, and now no one gives a shit.
Well, it's his
So
own
here's what I wanna
damn
know.
fault, though.
Oh, 100%. So does he and then the guy from Charles in Charge like get together? Because he's the other guy in Charles in Charge. He's Bible Man.
Right, I forgot about that. Willie Ames is Bible Man.
Willie Ames, right?
Yeah, I bet you there's some sort of meeting that takes place. You know, that whole group, that era that we grew up in of those syndicated TV shows, the teen stars struggling and stuff like that.
Right.
It's like so few made it out, clean the whole way. Sure. I mean, you got all those guys seem to be caught up on something. Like Robert Downey Jr. For a while, we thought he was going to die. I mean, who knew that he would be the most highest paid actor in the world? You know, the hero to many. There was a point where we're like, oh, we're going to hear about this in the news any day now.
Oh, totally. He was a butt of all the jokes.
Yeah, it's just weird era. And to take it back to the 80s, though, can you imagine this stuff that we watch now? Like what Adult Swim and Comedy Central brought about in the 90s? The idea of that existing 20, 30 years earlier, that it just wouldn't happen. It was all kid-oriented. There was no adult animation until The Simpsons, and then it's slow progression. And now it's not just like, oh, this is geared towards adults. This is geared to a very specific voice, a very specific audience. No, it's not going to get a huge budget, huge ratings, but it's going to be special to that group of people.
Yeah, the right people will get it.
Like the fact that home movies even existed. Like just, it's such a unique voice. But if I were to make a list, the Perfect Saturday Morning episode that I did was all pre-1980 because I assumed that nobody was going to do anything really before that. And then I was like, well, what if I do an episode post-1980 and it's going to be all like cable-oriented and Adult Swim stuff, sophisticated stuff. I can't throw a whole lot from the 80s and 90s on that list because it would only be nostalgia that would make me put it there, not quality.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Are you going for it? And that's part of why I didn't put things like Thundercats and stuff on there, because I went back and I checked out Muppet Babies because I was like, I was obsessed.
Yeah.
I was also in first grade, and I was like, this is not holding up.
Nope.
I'm not in first grade anymore, apparently. Yeah, and it wasn't there. In the little bit of the episode I watched, it was a lot of we're teaching a lesson, and it was very embarrassing. I didn't need to learn the lesson. But then it goes off on a moment where, Gonzo starts telling a story about a submarine sandwich and firing on it with spaghetti. And that, to me, was like, okay, that piece of it is amazing. The rest of it, where it's, basically just preachy, we're going to tell you how to be a decent human being, I'm good.
Yeah, well, a lot of cartoons were like that. If the ones that were action-oriented, they always had a thing at the end to the government wouldn't crack down on them for being a violent commercial. And then the other ones were just like, it was like the Care Bears, Shirt Tails, My Little Pony, where it was always teaching you a lesson. And there's one cartoon in all of that somehow holds up quality-wise and story-wise, was Garfield and Friends. And I watch it now and go, oh no, this is still pretty good. This is good.
Yeah, yep. Definitely.
Not trying to teach me anything.
Garfield, his dark sarcasm was just great. His dry wit.
Have you read Garfield lately, though? Man, I am pretty sure Jim Davis is either phoning it in or he's not in charge anymore and just counting his paychecks because Garfield now is so lazy. It's like, did you put any thought into this at all? It's bad. Okay, you know how some cartoon strips fit the entire story of Garfield into one panel, and now Jim Davis is stretching one joke out through 8 panels on a Sunday, and you're like, oh, the beauty of Sunday was that you could fit a huge idea into it. That's what Calvin and Hobbes always did.
Right. Yeah, don't know. I didn't know it was still going.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
And there's still
We get it at
newspapers.
work. Someone brings in the paper on Sundays, and I flip through it, and it's always the same bullshit.
Yeah, it's not what it was.
Nah.
And you know, going back to the fitting a lesson into it. If you watch the like commentary on the Weird Al show, Al talks about how the network made them do that and how it was annoying. It was like they're just trying to make a fun show, and how inspired he was by Pee-wee, and they're just trying to do that kind of thing again. And like they were required by the network to, you have to put something educational in here. And so they were just shoehorning these stupid things in, you know, just because they were required to, which is such a bummer, man. It like you could tell how it took away from the show.
Right. I don't understand why you had to force it in there. There's no laws that require it. I don't think the FCC had any rules, because if so, the Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner show wouldn't exist, because it's an hour and a half of them blowing each other up with no lessons learned. So that can't be it. So it just seems like an argue, you know, like, oh, well, parents are going to get up and, or, you know, you don't know that. You don't know if they're going to write in letters. Like, well, we just don't want to deal with it, so go ahead and put that in.
And it's during the whole Tipper Gore thing, you know, a bunch of like uppity parents running around going, but think about the children.
You know, I am not against ratings in music. Not ratings, but I mean the parental guidance thing, which sounds like completely against what I am, because I'm pretty like, no censorship. But it's not censorship. It's just kind of giving people a heads up of what's in the album. Right. Because if I'm a dad, I don't want my kids listening to NWA and then going to preschool. That's not going to happen.
Right, I get that.
But censorship of any kind is wrong. But, you know, a heads up. It works on movies, you know, and TV shows. So why not video games and music?
I guess so. I had such a huge argument with my mom coming up, though. We had different ideas over what I should listen to when that was a thing, like that she tried to keep that from me. I was like, fuck that, that's stupid.
Yeah, you know,
but that's it.
I gotta say, my mom is pretty laid back, unless it was like tons of F-bombs or violent or sexual.
Right.
You know, she's like, meh, whatever, they said it. You know, hell, I grew up on, you know, Motley Crue, Theater of Pain, when I was like 7, listening to that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of had to like sneak that for a while.
Yeah.
Fight that.
That's weird, because
my mom was a little overprotective at a certain point with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, my parents had that with horror movies, though, because I was so timid, I want to say. I don't know. I got frightened easily. So they held off and let me watch horror movies for quite a while. I think I was about 13 or 14 before I got to see, like slasher films and stuff like that. I had seen Lost Boys and Monster Squad, but those are the classic monsters. We're way off topic. But, yeah, it's funny how the cartoons... speaking of, before we go, monster cartoons, with the exception of Ghostbusters, they're so neutered. I watch them now going, man, what an opportunity to make a kick-ass horror action, you know, animated show.
Yeah. Special mention to Spawn.
Yeah.
That's one that I never watched when it was on. I watched much later, and I really like that one. I don't think of it as I didn't put it on my list because it's not very Saturday morning to me. Like, that is like, you got to watch that at dark, at night, in the dark, just, you know, shades drawn. But that one was
wind down your night.
Really cool.
That was actually our last episode as we discussed the 20th anniversaries of South Park and Spawn. I know, 2 wildly different cartoons, but they're both celebrating the 20th anniversary. The only thing that bugs me about Spawn is those intros where Todd McFarlane is basically trying to be the host, like his own version of the Crypt Keeper, but without jokes.
Yeah. So weird. Like, what's funny was when I first watched it, I got the DVDs, and for some reason, I don't remember that being on there. I think they might have taken it off the DVDs.
I think that what happened was, I remember renting on VHS where they made it kind of like a movie where there was no cuts or breaks. I don't even think there was credits until the very end. And because it was a short season, I think it was like 6 episodes. So I think they cut out the intros and the outros, and that's probably why you didn't see that. But they have it on Amazon now, and I'm like, oh, no, this is bad.
Right.
Cut this.
Yes, and I was doing the same thing where I was like, oh, I'm going to rewatch this, and now it's got him on there. I'm like, I don't want to see him. This is stupid.
I'm telling you right now, though,
embarrassing.
If they make a movie of it, it's got to be Christian Bale. They both talk and kind of look alike.
Oh my God! I said the exact same thing. I'm like, what's with American Psycho here? It is identical.
All
Talk
right.
About,
Sorry. I think there's a slight delay, and that's why it's awkward.
Is that why?
Yeah.
I think I'm just stupid, and that's why it's awkward.
That's okay. I've been drinking since I woke up this morning. No, I just am exhausted. Is there anything you want to plug before we go?
My podcast, This Song Fucking Sucks. You've been on it.
Yep.
A couple of times, so you can check that out. It's somewhere. It's on iTunes. It's on the interwebs. It's on the Spotify's. This song fucking sucks. We just listen to a song that sucks and talk about why. So,
we go on tangents, though. At least with me, we go off on these long diatribes of the whole genre and stuff like that. So we really decrypt like more than just the song.
Absolutely, it's more about life. It's a show about life.
It's also, my favorite app is Podcast Addict, which yours is on, and it shows you just everything right in a row, perfectly organized, download, upload, whatever, if you're on the go. It's a really good app for that. Whereas, iTunes is probably, more appropriate for laptop. But thank you very much for this. Was actually a lot. Sometimes I have to work the people into discussion. I'm like, come on, massage this conversation. You're like, no, I'm good. I'm going to throw some serious stuff at you.
Yeah, I like cartoons.
Well, we should find something else to talk about later down the road because this was a blast.
Definitely. Cool, man. Yeah, I had fun.
All right, everybody, check us out on Facebook under Retro Rock Entertainment, or if you're like a snob and you only like animation, go on over to the Back in Tunes podcast Facebook page and like us, and you'll be updated on all our new episodes and the changes in the show. We are about to hit the 4th anniversary. Thank you, everybody. And Jeff, you want to send us out?
Okay. Bye.
Oh,
I don't know. Am I supposed to do something?
I don't know. Everybody has their own weird, unique way of saying goodbye, or a slogan. I don't know. I thought you maybe had one.
Oh yeah, I got a slogan. Don't let the man get you down.
There you go. That's an excellent one. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Later.